Good evening, sim racing fans across the globe, and for the penultimate race of the 2015 RSR Full Throttle Cup Series season, we welcome you to iRacing Live and LSRTV. Jacob Seelman here in the control tower, getting ready to kick things off from the Jewel in the Desert. On tap here as we get set to roll here for round 32 of 33 in the 2015 season, the Full Throttle Cup Series, down to the final race of the Eliminator 8. And joined in the tower by Evan Pasoko and driver analyst Brian Macklin as we get set to kick things off. The 1 mile Oval 11, Tempers, Controversy, and Chasers. Those are the three names we're going to be watching tonight. I think we're going to see all of them over the course of this event. The question is going to be which four drivers punch their ticket to fight for a championship. We already know two of them, Greg Evans, Dwayne Vincent. We punch two more tickets tonight.
And 26 points total separate the highest driver in on points right now from the lowest driver out on points. And we're looking at about a 36-37 car field. Nobody is safe outside of Dwayne Vincent and Greg Evans. We talked about Martinsville at the beginning of this round, and pretty much what we said going into that race, Jacob, was all the characteristics you just said. It's a short track. There could be contact. There's a lot on the line, no doubt. Now that we go from the first race, though, of this Eliminator 8 to the third, it's a real reality for the guys like DeBarro, Ward, George, and Murray. They're not that far out, but the guys they're running against are so strong. You can almost chalk this up as Homestead next week. If you're not in already, you might have to win this race.
You may well have to win this race, and, you know, we talk about storylines. Brian Macklin, you know, we look at the down the grid right now. One of the chase contenders we thought was going to be a fight for the championship, and another one that we've heard speculated. In fact, two of the Steel Horse guys, Dan Murray, Jeff Ward. Jeff Ward not signed in, and Dan Murray said earlier in the weekend that he didn't think he was going to be contesting this final round at Phoenix. And you know, those are two heavy hitters we thought had a legitimate shot to get to Homestead.
Yeah, I'm really surprised to see that Jeff Ward's not here tonight. He's one of the best drivers in this series, and he was one of my picks to make the Final Four going into Homestead, so I'm very shocked to see that he's not in here. As for Dan Murray, he's here. He decided to go ahead and show up, and he's doing it with authority. He's on top of the practice board right now with a little bit under a minute left. He's out there with a 27.730. That's fastest, just a little bit over Greg Evans with a 27.746. So he showed up and decided he's going to do everything he can to try to punch his ticket into the Final Four. And I think he's made a statement here in this practice so far.
I do agree with that, and we talk about Phoenix a year ago. He was very strong at this racetrack, strong at Martinsville last year. Evan, he likes these short tracks, and you know, you can't count Dan out at one of these places, especially knowing that if it comes down to it, he's one of those guys that we know isn't afraid to use that front bumper a little bit.
And he's in the best spot that you could be not being locked in at just 6 points out. We talk about the 89 not being here. You'd think that's good news for the guys around him. It doesn't help anybody because he enters tonight 7 out of the 8 drivers, 12 points back. You take him out of the equation, Anthony DeBarro is still 16 points out. Thomas J. George is still 11 points out. So the subtraction of the 89 from the equation right now doesn't help anybody. It is one less spot on the racetrack that you might have to deal with, but I wouldn't be surprised that a racetrack like Phoenix, which by the way these guys are saying is very, very loose as we race under the Avondale sun this evening. It is a very loose racetrack. There is almost nothing that is guaranteed in this race, and as we say every single week, a good place to start, well, qualify good, Brian, and these drivers just now hitting the racetrack for the 10-minute close qualifying session.
Yeah, these guys are going to have 2 laps to try to do everything they can to get on the front row or as close to the front row as they can. And for Dan Murray, he's looking to back up exactly what he did in practice. He put down a flyer, and nobody else was even able to get close to it. So if he can back that up, I think he's going to be easily on the pole. And it's going to be a very big deal for all these chasers to try to get a good lap in right here. They don't want to have to fight through the traffic. And as you were saying, I talked to several of the drivers before the race, and they mentioned that this setup is extremely loose tonight. They're going to be all over the place fighting to keep this car from spinning off the corners. You're going to see a lot of issues. So for the guys that are trying to race their way into the Final Four, they don't want to have to be behind anybody. They want to be as close to the front as they can. That way they've got the track position, and when those things happen, they happen behind them.
All right, Brian, I want to throw this to you first. Does anybody that's not currently in the Final Four coming into tonight crash the party? And if so, who gets heartbroken at the end of tonight's race at Phoenix?
I think Anthony DeBarro is going to win this race and punch his ticket into the Final Four. He's at the bottom of the list here in the final 8 right now, being 16 points off the cutoff. He's basically in a must-win situation. No, he doesn't necessarily have to win depending on where the other chasers finish, but realistically, he's going to have to go out there and try to win the race because the other chasers, unless they have a major catastrophe, they're going to finish well enough to where he's not going to gain 16 positions. So, I think Anthony DeBarro is certainly one of the fastest drivers here tonight as well, and we've seen him win multiple times already this season and in the chase. I certainly think he's going to be the man that's going to do that and crash the party and join into the Final Four at Homestead.
Evan Pasoko, I'll pose the same question to you. Who gets heartbroken tonight and who goes on to Homestead?
If I look at the points right now, I hate to bet against the 94 of Eric Brundys being the defending series champion, but the bad news for him is right behind him is Dan Murray, and Dan Murray's going to win this race. He was the fastest driver in practice, and I remember that 5 machine doing some burnouts down in Turn 1 in 2014 at this very racetrack, so I think that 5 machine's going to be on it. He's been quick in practice. He is having some problems in qualifying, but Dan Murray, when it comes to Phoenix International Raceway, it doesn't get much better.
All right, fair enough. Qualifying now underway for these guys, and I want to talk about a driver who's really snuck his way very quietly through this entire chase, has a shot to advance tonight, Evan. Do you think there's any shot the 87 of Christopher Hurlow pulls together the consistency just like he has the rest of this season and finds a way to advance to Homestead, or is he going to be in trouble tonight?
I said it was hard to bet against Brundys because Hurlow's right there with him. And if you look at practice, Eric Brundys sits tonight 4 points behind Hurlow. They're both in at the moment, but Hurlow's 4 points behind him in the practice session. That 87 is a top 10 car here tonight. There's a lot going to be going on in this race. Even P9, I don't think, is really that safe of a position to be sitting in. 10 points is not comfortable, but I would bet for that 87 to make it into the Homestead of Miami finale if he can keep up the pace in the car that he's had. He doesn't need to have a great race, but even with that 10-point gap, he has the least amount of pressure on him compared to any of the other drivers.
By the way, Brian, I'll throw the phone number right now because he just by a half a tenth. So I think this lends some credence tonight, Brian, to what you were saying. DeBarro, he may not have had the practice speed, but all of a sudden in qualifying, he's doing exactly what he needs to do.
Yeah, and you say that he didn't have the practice speed, but he was right there. He was only about a half a tenth off of Dan Murray's fast lap. He ran a 789 to Dan's 730, so a little bit over a half a tenth. Not that bad, and he was 5th in practice, and he stepped it up where he needed to and got the pole. It also helps him a little bit that the guys that ran those fast laps in practice did not back up their times in qualifying. He's the only driver in this field so far that has broke into the 27.7 bracket. Everybody else is in the 28.8s or slower, so nobody else was able to back up their time the way he did. He actually improved on his time. I definitely think he knows he's essentially in a must-win situation, and he's trying to make sure he's in the best position possible, and I can't think of a better way to do it than to start on the pole.
And how about the run in qualifying, Evan, for a guy that we talk about as being a veteran of RSR competition? He's got about the 5th most starts of anybody in this league, but Brian Harvey, we don't ever talk about him in the Cup ranks, and he's qualified 4th on the grid tonight. A hugely impressive showing of speed in my mind for the driver of that 66.
As soon as you started talking, my eyes locked on that P4 spot right now, provisionally with the 27.853. Brian Harvey is slated to start outside on row 2. A 13th place car in practice, and that sounds about right for what we've seen the 66 machine so far this season. Phoenix is a racetrack unlike any other, though, that we race at. So you take a car that's pretty good, a top 15, a top 20 car every single week. You come to a racetrack that is pretty difficult. A lot of guys, they don't like this new configuration of Phoenix. It's tough. If that plays into your wheelhouse a little bit, it's not a huge adjustment, but it's that small adjustment that makes you go from a top 15 car to a top 10, top 5 car. Brian Harvey, good to see him inside the top 5 right now.
It really is. And, we were talking about the 87 of Christopher Hurlow a little bit ago, and I want to elaborate on that a little bit more. To do that, we bring in our pit road staff for tonight's call here at Phoenix International Raceway. Scaramuza, I'll throw it down to you, my friend. I know you were just out for that 87 machine, and he said it's going to take a little bit of work tonight.
Yeah, he said the car, it's decent on the short run here, but he's really going to have to wait for the car to come in on the later run. It's definitely a loose setup here. We saw in the pro race and even last Sunday that kind of the setup of the car kind of fits the nighttime a little bit more than it does the daytime, and that's definitely true here. So I think these guys will have to deal with a lot looser cars than what they're expecting as far as like driving this week during the nighttime. So, yeah, it's just going to be a case of having to hold on to the car and making sure not to burn up the tires, because it's really easy to do here in 3 and 4.
And Brian, a big thing we talk about in these races, in this chase, is the team element in this. Coming into this final race until we get to Homestead, there are guys in that have teammates. There are guys that are not in that have teammates also. Your teammates are going to try to help you out. How much realistically can they help you if you got 3 teammates out there as opposed to being out there by yourself?
I think really the only thing they can do as far as strategy is concerned is maybe try to give you a buffer towards the end of the race. If you need to stay out on old tires at the end of the race and try to get track position and try to get a gap between you and the guys you're racing against, they can stay out with you and create that bubble between you and, say, Anthony DeBarro is trying to outrun Dan Murray at the end of the race. They can make a bubble there between him and Dan Murray and make it a little bit more difficult for Dan to catch him. That's about the only thing they can really do. That you can also bounce ideas off of them as far as what you want to do strategy-wise, whether you want to take 2 or take 4 or stay out. But really, they're not going to be able to do too much more than that. And I'm sure that the RSR officials will be looking to make sure there's no on-track activity that's going to alter the outcome of this series. That the way we saw with Matt Kenseth and Joey Logano, you're not going to see that kind of stuff happen here. The RSR officials will make sure that doesn't happen.
I can promise that there is no rain in this 32nd Monday on the season. The sun is out at the virtual Phoenix International Raceway, and the fates of Hurlow, Brundys, Murray, George, Ward, and DeBarro, they hang in a balance over the next 135 laps. Qualified about to draw to a close, we go down trackside for our opening ceremonies and to the singing of the national anthem with Jaden Berkey as we get set to get underway.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
The qualifying grid is set, and let's take a look at the LSRTV starting grid for the Phoenix Chase race as we sit one race away from decided to championship at Homestead of Miami. How about Anthony DeBarro? Somebody said he was going to get the job done. 16 points behind P1. Not a bad place to start. A 27-773 puts the number 9 of Anthony DeBarro on pole position tonight. Outside the front row, Adam Benefield with a good starting spot in the 77 Chevrolet. Greg Evans starts third tonight. Mitch Rollo will roll from fourth. It'll be a P5 on the grid for that 66 of Brian Harvey.
Defending series champion Eric Brundage is going to start 6th. Rhett McBride is going to start 7th. Steve Gottschalk is going to start 8th. One of the drivers that's already punched his ticket into the Final Four at Homestead, Dwayne Vincent, starting 9th. And Jonathan Cadell is going to round out the top 10.
Corbin Hemstreet starts tonight in 11th spot. Christopher Herlow outside of him, plus 10 points above the cut line. Will start in 12th. Dan Murray, -6, is in the 13th spot. He was the fastest driver in the practice session. Thomas J. George, 11 points out, is 14th. And Joe Dinsmore rounds out the top 15 in a 95.
Got a pair of Timmy Hill Motorsports drivers starting back-to-back. E.J. O'Rourke's going to start 16th in the Papa Hardware number 62. David Comstock's going to start 17th. Jose Gonzalez is going to start 18th. Doug Roth is going to be 19th. And rounding out the top 20, Nelson Rivera is in the 7 car. He's starting 20th.
Scott Simley, Kyle Tarasca, Sean Aboundy, Jimmy North, Jake Higgins through Brennan Mercer, Sean Casto, and Joseph LaPlaca, the 28 drivers that qualify in on time. And you'll see the additional drivers in the qualifying session go across the top of your screen. Early race drama, though. Anthony DeBarro's number 9 machine, slated to start from pole position, has received a throughput fall to an unacceptable level. In layman's terms, he has dropped connection and has lagged out of the sim, and at this moment is not on the grid with the rest of the drivers. He'll have to try to load back in, but he will not make the drop of the green flag tonight. That puts Greg Evans in front. Number 23, PPG Industries Chevrolet, going to get us underway. The pace car dives down of the way. Green flag flies, and chase racing we go at Phoenix International Raceway. And Greg Evans, the impromptu pole sitter, leads us to turn 1.
Yeah, Greg Evans gets away as they get through turns 1 and 2 right now. The number 77 machine of Adam Benefield is going to try to stay with him as they go through the dogleg for the first time here today. He's going to get down into the turn 3, trying to get on his back bumper, not able to do it for the time being. Eric Brundage moves into the 4th position right away. He jumped around that 66 of Brian Harvey, who had a really impressive qualifying lap. He's on the fall right now. He's going backwards in this first couple of laps. And we have a change for the lead right now. Adam Benefield only waited 1 lap. He's to the point as they come off turn 2.
These drivers know to make the passes and get them done soon. So that 77 went to the inside of the racetrack, and that number 23 machine went topside and did not put up much of a fight. The 96 of Mitch Rollo, he's able to slide back into P2. So the 96 second, it's the 77 to P1, and Greg Evans right back where he was supposed to start in 3rd spot down the front straightaway. Top 7 cars, single file battle behind him for P8 is where it all is going down. It'll translate to a battle for 9th spot. It's the number 1 machine topside, Thomas J. George. He's up on the outside, and it's Christopher Herlow moving forward early. Already up now 3 spots as he heads back to turn number 3. The 87 trying to defend that point gap.
Yeah, 2 chase contenders right here running back to back, trying to do what they've got to do to punch their own tickets into the Final Four. Both these drivers trying to do it. Christopher Herlow right now is on the right side of that. He's 10 points to the plus coming into this race. Thomas George, however, he's trying to work his way into the top 4. He's going to need to get closer to the front as they work through the rest of this race. Right now, he's settled in the 10th position. He's very happy with his car at the time being. He's looking to try to move a little bit closer to the front. Adam Benefield, however, is sailing away right now. He's put almost half a second on second place Mitch Rollo as they complete lap 4 and begin lap 5.
The 77 bested that 96 Rollo by 1 spot in the practice session. Cisco, to you on the pit lane. Dan Murray was our fastest driver earlier on tonight in the practice session. Qualified in 13th, and on lap 3, I said the top 8 were single file. So in 2 laps, he went from 13th to 6th. How's the 5 doing in traffic?
He's doing really well right now. The car's really hooked up. But we turned attention to that race drama we had before Anthony DeBarro. He tried to reconnect to the sim and once again received a throughput fall to an unacceptable level. So he's once again, now he's back in. So a lot of connection issues for that 9 car tonight. Not a good night for that to be happening.
Brian, we talk about the sim having extenuating circumstances, things that you don't deal with in real life. Over in the real world, there are things that they deal with we don't have to. So we always chalk it up as a connection problem. It's something like a mechanical gremlin. In theory, it is a problem with his computer not being able to connect to the session. Even if he gets back as he is disconnected again, leader's already on lap 6. It's nearly impossible to come from 6 laps down and win a race, and that's all the hope he had.
Yeah, right now, I don't know that you're even going to see him try to get back in. It looks like he may have given up on this adventure. And like you said, it would be next to impossible to make up this many laps. Actually, I see him trying to reconnect now. His only hope is that they start getting a series of cautions and they don't get a lot of drivers to fall a lap down. Right now, there's nobody a lap down, so if they got a caution and he was on the racetrack, he would actually be scored with the lucky dog and would begin to start getting his laps back. So that's about his only hope if he can get back on the track. But my guess is if he gets back on the track now, he's going to be 10 to 11 laps down, maybe more by the time he's able to get back out there. So he's going to have a very tough hill to climb if he's going to get back into this and have a chance to make the Final Four.
It's funny to note that we talk about Phoenix being a track where there's a lot of close quarters racing. It is a relatively wide racetrack, maybe with the exception of turn 1 and maybe the exit of turn number 4. The backstretch is wide, the dog-legged option down in 3 and 4 rather wide, even on the exit of turns 1 and 2. These guys get spread out. That increases the possibility of us continuing to go green. The top 5 really is starting to spread things out. Benefield opened it up a gap better to 3/4 of a second in front of Rollo. Evans still third. It's Harvey and Dan Murray inside of the top 5 right now. However, the 5 not going to be able to get it that easily. The 13 of Dwayne Vincent makes the move back for P6. So Dan Murray, who was going forward, Murray now drops back to P7. Dwayne Vincent jumps up to P6. And at lap number 10, the number 9 of Anthony DeBardo has joined the racetrack, scored in 37th position. At this point, would be in a position to get the lucky dog, but with 8 laps to the negative, things do not look good at all for the driver that came into this one on pole and came in needing to win. It looked like his night was on track, but maybe it is cut short out of his control.
Yeah, huge chase implications for the number 9 machine. Like you said, his only hope now is that he can get a couple of quick cautions, which he's going to need them soon. He's running out of laps already. I know it's hard to believe that when you talk about this race being as long as it is. It's the 135 laps, but he needs 8 cautions where nobody else is a lap down in order to get back on the lead lap, and that's assuming that he's able to do that. If he's able to, that's going to be amazing. This would be an incredible story if he's able to overcome an 8-lap deficit, get back into this, and have a shot to make the chase. I think that would be an incredible storyline going into Homestead. Unfortunately for him, that's going to be very tough to do. Meanwhile, back up front, we did see a change for second place. Greg Evans moved ahead of Mitch Rollo and is now trying to set his sights on Adam Benefield, but he's got a 1.5 second gap if he's going to make it happen. We are still green after 12 laps, and we were talking privately before the race started. We didn't expect this race to go green very long at all, and they've already exceeded all of our expectations. They're completing now 12 laps, starting the 13th lap, so certainly very impressive way, an impressive way to start this race off.
It is an extremely difficult track on the sim to run at when you spread out. The possibility of getting a long green flag stretch increases. You go on board with Kyle Tarasca's machine at the moment, back in 22nd spot right now. Contact in front of him, the 49 of Jake Higgins gets into the fence, and you see that 7 of Nelson Rivera check up just in front. Tarasca will now end up +1 as he tries to get to the inside on the 7. No, can't quite hold it down. They'll fight through turns 3 and 4. A bit of rubbing going on outside of the top 20. That shows you how desperate these guys are getting all the way around. But as I was saying, you know, we get longer green flag stretches, everybody spreads out, but this racetrack is so loose that it's really not a concern tonight, I don't think, of guys getting into each other. Our primary concern, as we take a look at the little bit of contact there once again on the LSRTV replay, is the fact that it's going to be single car incidents and caution flag is out.
The 49 of Jake Higgins, we were just talking about him. He got loose coming out of the dog leg and lost it. He tried to save it, but he spun back up in front of the track. And as he was spinning and trying to come to a rest, it looks like the 84 of Jimmy North had nowhere to go and ran right into his passenger side door. Heavy contact, and our first caution on lap 14, actually I believe lap 15. Replay is up now. You're going to see the accident where Jake Higgins just gets a little sideways. He's not able to save the car. He spins it out, and then Jimmy North comes in late with nowhere to go and runs right into the side of him. We're about to see these drivers down on pit road now. Cisco, down to you.
Yeah, right now, as everyone's going to say, it looks like all the leaders are going to come down this time to come take tires. I don't think gambling here would be a very smart idea considering what the tire fall off is here on this track. But right now, Adam Benefield's going to lead him down pit road right now. I do see one car that did stay out. That's Rich Jet right there. He looks like he's going to lead the field there and maybe pick up an extra bonus point. You know, they still are trying to fight for 5th position in the points. But right now, cars starting to roll into their pit stalls. The 14 of David Comstock. There goes the 77 of Adam Benefield. They're all going to roll in. I got to imagine the call here is going to be 4 tires. It's you know, we've only gone about 16 laps, but tire wear is so key here. But it looks like the one car of Thomas J. George, he actually took 2 tires. He's going to beat everyone off pit road, and that's a huge race right there as Rollo beat Evans, Gonzalez, and a couple more cars out there by, I don't know, about 2 inches right there. So he did a great job, but 2 tires right there for the one car, and Rich Jet stayed out.
And that was about 3 drivers inside of each other trying to get off at a pit lane with that left-hand curve. In the end, though, Thomas J. George from 10th on track takes 2 tires, first out of the pit lane, but Rich Jet first at the start-finish line. He stays out to assume the race lead. We'll step away, be back for the restart in a moment. You're watching the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series chase for the Full Throttle Cup from Phoenix.
Truex in the outside, contact made. 56 slides it at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back to LSRTV, getting set for our first American Ethanol restart of the night here from Phoenix International Raceway. Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin on the call for tonight's 9th of 10 chase races for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series in the field, getting ready to work back to the green flag. Thomas George on 2 tires at the front of the field. All the rest of the leaders are on 4 tires as we work off turns 3 and 4 and come back to the flag. Gonna have our restart with 18 of 135 complete. Thomas on the gas. Green flag flies. We are back underway. And how about the jump on the inside for a moment? But now the red machine, Adam Benefield in that 77 to the outside, wants a piece of the lead through the dog leg.
And the top 4 drivers, 2 wide, 2 rows deep down to turn number 3. Nobody getting crazy using the dogleg. The 96 stuck to the inside. He wants to stay side by side with Greg Evans. They both push up the hill into 3, but it's the battle for the race lead off of turn 4. And the one car going to get a little bit loose off the corner. Benefield gets the race lead top side, and with that, Rollo goes from P4 to try to get second. Swipes to the inside of the racetrack in turn 1, so the Snap-on Chevrolet from leading us across the stripe to under attack.
Well, we have to assume, 2 tires. We know the tire wear. Cisco is not going to be very helpful for you to take 2 tires because you're going to burn them off in a hurry. And I have a feeling the one right now paying the price for that.
Yeah, he's just looking for a quick caution right now, but he is definitely going in reverse right now as we have, a lot of close battles since the field is right stacked up. So he might be open for a quick caution here.
And we watch him start to fall back now. Now he's got his teammate Greg Evans, Eric Brundy's down to the inside. Christopher Hurlow's back there. Dwayne Vincent's back there as well. But Brian Macklin, you just brought up a moment ago while we were down on pit road with Cisco, Dwayne not having the best of luck right now with connection either. He's looking like his connection may be a little bit iffy. The good thing for him is he won last week in Texas. He's got no worries coming into this race tonight.
Yeah, that's a very big advantage to have, knowing that you don't have to worry about what happens tonight. You can go out there and pretty much do whatever you want, and if it doesn't work out, you're still in the Final Four. That's the exact kind of feeling you want to have in this scenario. And I have to say something about Thomas George right now. I know he's falling backwards right now, but I like this call. I like this call for one reason and one reason only, and that's because he did it early. He knows it's not going to work now. This is something that is going to teach him so he doesn't do it later in the race. Not only that, he did get that one critical bonus point for leading a lap, so that 1 point could play a factor in him making or breaking when it comes to this chase. I think that was a good call for a couple of different reasons, and I like it. And we have a caution. The 31 is around. And we have our second caution of the night. Eric Arnold hard into the outside wall.
That's a big hit for Arnold. He just used up the entire front end of that machine, Evan. The Navy nuke, that Ford in trouble. Big, big hit.
And that was coming through turns 1 and 2, coming off onto the back straightaway. Eric Arnold on the inside, and he was actually cleared by the time they got to turn 1. E.J. O'Rourke and a Pappas Hardware Chevrolet challenged, and then off the corner, we talk about a loose condition. The back end of that car got a little bit sideways. If Arnold's not there, he makes a save, but with O'Rourke spinning and that 31 being right there, he tags the 31, and it's Eric Arnold who really gets the big lick. You saw the damage on the Navy Duke Ford Fusion top side. O'Rourke gets up a piece of damage as he dives to the apron. They'll come down to service that, but unfortunately for Eric Arnold, as we get a second look now, he's the innocent victim in that one, and he gets the short end of the straw. Leaders thinking about it, they're ducking, and now it looks like they do elect to come down to the pit lane. Benefield, the first driver in.
Yeah,
How about that? Leaders back in.
Brundys was actually staying out there. He actually is going to get that extra lap led, so he's going to be P1. You know, extra bonus points. It definitely is going to count big here, but right now, here they come down pit road. Cars starting to pull into their stall. That's Rhett McBride. Right now, here comes Benefield down into pit road. You got the 96 following him and the 23 of Evans right now. Right side's going to start getting jacked up on these cars. Once again, you know, it was only a short time, but I would be surprised maybe 1 or 2 cars take 2, but the call is going to be 4, I'm pretty sure. Right now, though, it looks like 1 car did take 2. I believe that's the 84, Jimmy North. I believe he's a couple laps down. Yes, he is. So he's actually not going to lead him out. Benefield, though, with a great pit stop and that great pit stall, he's gonna roll out your first car out of the pits right there.
So under caution here with 25 laps going to be complete this time, and I was kind of shocked at this, honestly, Brian, to see as many cars as came in. We were green for maybe 5 laps, and everybody comes back in for tires. Is 5 laps really that much of an advantage here?
I have to say that I believe it is, yes. And I'll tell you, the one person that really kind of shocks me here that stayed out is Eric Brundys, and that's big for a couple of different reasons. One, because now he's the only guy out there on old tires, but 2, that keeps Anthony DeBarro from getting one of those 7 laps that he needs to get back. If Eric Brundys had pitted, Anthony DeBarro could have taken the wave around and gotten another lap back, but now he's going to stay 7 laps down, and we have a couple, well, actually we don't have any guys a lap down ahead of him that are still on the racetrack, so he can still get the lucky dog. But it's going to be much harder to do now, especially since he wasn't able to score an extra lap this time around.
It's the scenario that's going to play out all night long, Evan, and now we're starting to see these caution flags. It's got to help the 9, but boy, it's still a really, really tall order here, and you got to think it's not going to get any easier the deeper we get into this race.
He's got to get cautions early, but again, the problem is you need a caution to get a lap back. You're not going to drive around the field 7 times. You have a fast car. It's not that fast. The problem is every single time you get a caution to get a lap back, somebody is losing a lap, so it's going to be nearly impossible if he wants to do this. We talked about Eric Arnold going 3 laps at a negative now. The 31 is not back out on track. However, Joey Jettina's number 12 is out there on track. He's 1 lap down. He occupies the lucky dog position. I think it takes a little bit more than a miracle if that number 9 wants to get back to the lead lap, if that.
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest story for this restart, though, is the fact that Eric Brundys and Mitch Rollo stay out. They assume the front row as we work through the dog leg, and we're about to find out exactly how good even a 5-lap advantage is going to be on tires. And I know Brian said he thinks that it's going to be a big advantage tonight. I'm not a believer just yet. We're going to have to find out exactly how this run plays out. We're going to have 27 of 135 laps completed this time by. Pace car makes its way to pit road. Field in the hands of the defending champ. He's gone. We're underway as Mitch Rollo, Adam Benefield. They duel for second. Benefield right to the inside of the racetrack. Leaders are in turn 1.
And this time it's the 96 topside. We saw the 77 do something with it that last restart. This time Benefield, the preferred lane, the bottom, didn't have to do as much fighting, but he's not able to fight for the race lead. Brundys, who stays out, paces in 3 and 4. You see those guys, though, into the corner. They're allowed to get it a lot harder. They can get back to the gas sooner in just a 5-lap difference. A lot of time made up by the number 99 of Adam Benefield rather than that last time through turns 3 and 4. The gap just 1 car length. The top 3 drivers still within 0.2 of a second. Everybody chasing the 94. Brundys gets sideways, and Benefield at the dogleg.
Benefield shortcuts the corner. He's going for the lead in turn number 3. Brundys hung out to dry. Rollo goes to second, the 77. Back to the top spot on lap 29. He's bringing Rollo with him, and Benefield loose. Rollo wants the lead off 4.
He used up every single inch of that racetrack out of the final turn, and he did not catch the fence. He really didn't lose a whole lot of time, though, but came awfully close when that car bobbled. He stepped it up the hill. Not a whole lot of banking to lean these cars on. Look at the 23, Greg Evans, halfway to the inside of retaining wall. He makes the pass on a 94.
Yeah, and as they work off turn 4 right now, Eric Brundys is still falling like a rock. Dwayne Vincent is now working underneath of him as they go down into turn 1, and Eric Brundys has got to be wondering what could have been if he'd come down pit road. We have another caution on the racetrack here. Our 3rd caution of the evening is out. Going to have to try to figure out what happened here, but we are back under caution for the 3rd time. Looks like the number 12 machine of Joey Katina is the cause for the caution. He spun off turn 4, kicked it sideways, was not able to keep the car going, and we are back under caution because of the 12 machine. You're going to see the replay on your screen now. Joey Katina around. He did go ahead and park that car and has decided to sit on pit road for a little while.
And he had just lost his lead lap status. The caution prior, Brian, with just about 3-4 laps ago, dropped down to that 1 lap down position in 33rd, broke sideways off the corner, split it around, and that 12 machine was sideways, and then that's where the caution flag comes out. So the 3rd time, although we've seen a couple of these involved a couple of cars, they've all started with a single car getting sideways, loose conditions, even with the fresh tires. That may give the wave round, or the lucky dog rather, for DeBarro, considering Katina is the cause of the caution. If that's the case, that's 2 down and 6 to go.
And I'm not sure if that's the case here, Evan. I think that will be a case where they don't award the lucky dog. Jatina would not be eligible as the cause of the caution. A few back markers headed for pit road. Doug Roth, Nick Silver in the 25 among them. Cisco, down to you.
Yeah, you know, we talked about kind of is 5 laps enough for tires, and we even saw Katina get loose a little bit there, so I think it's not a bad idea. Come in, get some fresh rubber. Corbin Himstreet right now coming down pit road. He wants to get a set of tires, as well as the 43 you mentioned of Doug Roth, the 8 of Tarsaka, and Mercer in the 29. And there goes Silver and Lacrosse. They're going to race off pit road. Lacrosse gets a great jump out of his box, so that was a great pit stop right there for that 21 team. Right now, Kyle's going to roll off behind them. But a great pit stop there, and the 43 is actually going to lead him off pit road. But a great jump off out of the box for that 21 car.
So, under caution, 33 laps complete. We're going to have 100 to go when we get the restart, because we should get it with 35 laps complete. And we continue it on and take a look at the top 10 as they run. Adam Benefield in the Roll Speed Dynamics Chevrolet SS, your race leader. Mitch Rollo rides P2, and Greg Evans in 3rd. Dwayne Vincent 4th. Eric Brundys has dropped back to the 5th spot. Christopher Hurlow doing exactly what he needs to do. Rides 6th right now. Thomas George 7th. Jose Gonzalez in the Meatball Mobile up to 8th. Jonathan Cadell 9th. And Brian Harvey hanging in after a top 5 qualifying effort, his best of the season. He rides in 10th right now. And Evan just quietly hanging there. Very impressed by the job he's done tonight. You know, we don't see this kind of a run out of him very often in this Full Throttle Cup Series. So when we do, definitely impressive.
In top 10 right now, started at P5. He's got a lot going on around him. A lot of the chase guys started right around that P10. So he's been in a very bad spot all night long. He's keeping his nose clean. He's not getting in anybody's way, so he's keeping his own pace, and he's staying out of the problem as far as staying out of the way of those chase guys and letting them race amongst themselves. So he's doing good at P10. The guys in front of him, a couple of big movers. Jose Gonzalez up 10 spots from 18th. But behind here, a couple of guys creeping up. How about the 34, Sean Boundy, 23rd to 11th, one of the drivers that's making quite a splash here early.
And I think another guy that's making a quiet splash, Brian, is the guy we talked about that has a chance to make the Final Four. Christopher Herlo, up to 6th. Started 12th, has really made a nice drive for the moment. And along with that, a team getting some technical support. The 34, Sean Boundy, 23rd to 11th. Those two drivers out of the Boomtown Sim Technical Camp doing a great job so far tonight, hanging in, especially Herlo. He's doing what he needs to do, Brian, in position to make that championship 4.
Yeah, he's doing what we've talked about him doing all year long, and that is be consistent, finish where he needs to finish. He hasn't necessarily lit the world up with wins, but he's been where he needs to be every single week going after the wins, and he just needs to keep doing what he's doing, and he's going to make the Final Four.
Yeah, he is. Right now, though, Adam Benefiel looking to close things out with a win. He leads the field back to the American Ethanol green flag. This restart powered by American Ethanol. If it's good enough for NASCAR, it's good enough for your car. American-made, American-grown, powering NASCAR. And right now, powering Adam Benefiel right to the top spot. Mitch Rollo slotting in second. First battle on the racetrack for third. Greg Evans and Dwayne Vincent in 3.
And Vincent topside has not been the best place to be, but we've seen it work with some success. At 23, Greg Evans on the inside of the racetrack. Preferred lane, though, at a turn number 4. Not going to quite clear him. The 13 challenges back topside. These are the two drivers that have won the last 2 races at Martinsville and then Texas. So these guys, they're locked in. They're racing for Throttle right now, trying to pad the points just a little bit, although there's no factor between where they finish tonight and where they sit into Homestead next week. They're trying to play spoiler, and both of them continue to fight over P3. They're not giving up on each other.
How about right now the driver of the 87 Custom Gaming Garage Chevrolet, Christopher Herlo, on that restart? We were all watching the battle for the lead, but he made a power move around the reigning champ Eric Brundys to go right into that number 5 position. You say the outside lane isn't the place to be. He made it the place to be, moves into the top 5, and now closing in on Greg Evans for 4th.
He restarted topside on that one at a 94. Brundy's not a good entry in 3 and 4, and the good run off the corner by the 87 got him that spot. There's not a whole lot of banking to run down off of, but he took advantage of all of it. He was squeezed pretty tight also up against the fence. He's able to get the pass, and that means P5 for Herlo. Again, in a spot right now that's not comfortable, but the most comfortable out of his other 5 chase counterparts. And right now, running P5, that's a good way to defend a 10-point lead.
It really is, and up front, the battle for the lead has been hot and heavy. It really extends out now to the biggest gap it's been for Adam Benefiel since the restart. About a car length. Mitch Rollo dogging him as they head back to turn 1, Brian, and that's a nice run for the 96.
Yeah, Mitch Rollo is trying to do everything he can to try to win this race and end this season on a high note. He's not in this final 8. He's looking just to go out there and get as many victories as he can going into the last couple of races. And same thing for Adam Benefiel. Adam Benefiel took a lot of this season off. He didn't run for the championship. He came back and has ran some hit and miss races, and he's here for one thing, and that's to try to win the race. This is a really impressive battle between both of these drivers. Right now you're actually having an onboard look from the number 25 machine of Nick Silver. He's battling in a very tight mess. Around the 20th position, you're going to see Nelson Rivera, EJ O'Rourke, Doug Roth, and a handful of other drivers all around him as they're racing 2 and almost 3 wide back here in the middle of the pack. This is some of the hardest racing we've seen all race, and they're not even racing for any position very important. They're running mid-pack.
Well, we're not surprised, to be honest. You're getting down to the end of the season, and every position's important. You want to end this year on a high note. You want to go out with a good finish, want to build some momentum into 2016, even if you're not in the chase. One driver that was in the chase that's trying to build some momentum, moving to... Caution flag is out. We'll get back to that in a moment. Right now, big trouble. We're under the caution. The 7 of Nelson Rivera, Evan.
And it's that exact battle that we were talking about. And again, it starts with just one car. Top side, the number 25, Nick Silver, coming through 1 and 2. I mean, the car really didn't look like it broke loose. He just kept drifting up the hill, and I mean, he just drove it out of room, really. You'll take a look at the replay now. He catches the fence, comes down, and he straightens it out just because he gave the Sanford a good hip check down to the bottom of the racetrack, and Nelson Rivera spins out below the yellow line. That normally wouldn't trigger an automatic caution. However, that is fair game here at Phoenix International Raceway, so it triggers a caution flag, and we slow him down again. That's time at lap number 42.
And with just about 1/3 distance in the books, we're going to step away to a commercial break as the leaders head for pit road. We'll reset the top runners when we come back. From Phoenix International Raceway, you're watching LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Once its sights are set, nothing can stop the ferocious lion from capturing its prey. Relying on keen senses, lions search patiently before striking with alarming speed. Wait for it. Gotcha, Mr. Piece of Rubbish. He is truly the master of his environment. Do good, be a lion.
Championship leader has taken over. Vincent holds a 22.5 seconds.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental US, including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
Welcome back to LSRTV, gearing up for a restart at Phoenix International Raceway, coming up on 50 laps complete in tonight's Duel in the Desert at Phoenix International Raceway for the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. The final race of the Eliminator 8-4 drivers will be decided tonight. We already know 2 of them that are going to race for a championship at Homestead, Miami next weekend. We ink 2 more names into the grid here tonight. Dan Murray in the Abreu Vineyards, number 5 Toyota, your new race leader. As we work off turn 4, the iRacing.com pace car heads for pit road, and Murray will lead the field back to the American Ethanol green flag. It's in the air, and chaos on the restart already. Mitch Rollo down to the bottom of the racetrack. He restarted 3rd, but he's all over Murray for the lead as they work off turn 2. Fresh tires going to be the difference maker quickly in this one.
We've seen it so far all night long. We don't expect that to change. And now caution flag, though, right off for the restart. Problems down the back straightaway. Around is Joe Dinsmore. The 95 Domino's Chevrolet pointed the wrong direction.
And just like that, guys, we have more chaos, Brian, and we also have another opportunity potentially for Anthony DeBarro to gain a lap. The problem is when you get guys like Dan Murray who stay out just to pin him from getting that wave around, it makes it a lot tougher.
Yeah, and the other issue is we do have one driver that is actually on the track that is a lap down that's going to get the lucky dog before him, and that's Joey Gattina. He's still 2 laps down, and he's still on the racetrack, so barring anything that happened to him if he was involved in that wreck, he's going to get the lucky dog here. He'll get one of those laps back, but he's still going to be another lap down, which means if we get another caution, he's going to get the lucky dog again, which is another caution that is keeping Anthony DeBarro from getting a lap back. At this point, I would say with 90 laps to go, Anthony DeBarro has a very slim shot at getting back on the lead lap, and even if he does get back on the lead lap, then he's going to have to work through probably 30 cars to get up to a position where he even has a chance to do something and maybe get into the Final Four. I'm not liking Anthony's chances here. It's not over. There's no doubt it's not over, but it's not looking good at all.
All right, guys, so now the question is, we barely had anything go on, barely any laps. Does anybody come down pit road this time? Everybody's kind of peeking. Mitch Rollo, Dan Murray did come to pit road. Everybody else pretty much stayed out. They're peeking through the dog leg and getting me all thrown off right now, Brian, and I think that means the head games have started because nobody knows what anybody else is doing, and everybody wants to try and figure out what their closest competition is doing, and it's just all a jumbled mess right now.
Yeah, it certainly is a jumbled mess, and it's not going to get any easier to sort out throughout the rest of the night. And the tensions are going to continue to rise. We were talking about it under the break, how there's a lot of tension on the racetrack right now, and it's going to continue to happen throughout the course of this race. It's not going to go away. You're going to see these drivers get more aggressive. You're going to see them keep making the calls that we've seen them making all night long. Dan Murray staying out there was a bad call as far as his own personal races going, but it was a big call because it kept a potential championship contender from being able to get back into the hunt. So it was a very strategic call, not only for his teammates, but also for the people around him.
And we take a look at the way that this race is beginning to shape out. By the time you go back green, and actually at the completion of this lap, we'll be 50 laps into this 135 lap affair, almost at the halfway point. Then we start counting down. A lot has happened, but everything that has happened, Brian, for the most part, which it really has not been the story of this chase, it hasn't been chase guys for the most part. We talked about the big problems with Anthony DeBarro. We continue to follow the number 9 machine 6 laps down, but outside of that, a lot of this chase has been who can limit the mistakes that they have. So far, a lot of our chase guys are doing okay or good, satisfactory, whatever word you want to use, though. That's bad news, because if nobody's having problems, it's hard to pass anybody.
Yeah, it's very hard to pass, and the points are fairly tight. I mean, we talked about it before. There's Anthony DeBarro is 16 points behind the cutoff. That's not a lot of spots on the track. That's, if you're running second, that's 17th. You would be gaining 16 points on a certain driver. I mean, there's not that many positions there between those guys in points, and it gets tighter when you look at 3rd and 4th and 5th in points. There's a lot less of a gap there, so it's going to be very interesting here. And I don't know, for Dwayne Vincent and Greg Evans, I like their position because they don't have to worry about it. They're here just to try to win another race, but for the rest of them, I would not want to have to be in their shoes. It's going to be a very stressful night, and it already has been, and it's not going to get any easier.
No, it's not. And, Brian, what this brings now is, we've already seen some steel horse guys, and I just heard Christopher Hurlos reference it over the radio under this last caution. He's surrounded by steel horse drivers right now, and he said they've been roughing him up a little bit on these restarts. He's trying to move forward on the bottom. Right now, Mitch Rollo, his teammate, is the driver moving forward on the bottom, right back to the lead, slides right up in front of Adam Benefiel, and he leads the party now with 51, a 135 complete. Rollo away, Hurlo moving forward, he slots into the top 5.
The top 3-4 drivers right now, they single file out. It's Joseph LaPlaca, though, going backwards topside. The number 79 Denver Mattress Chevrolet machine started P28, a top 5 car for the restart. Already down 1-2, now maybe 3, as the 11 Jonathan Cadell tries to get a spot on him. This battle rages on just in front of championship hopeful Thomas J. George behind the number 1 car. Up 5 spots from the start of the race, slowly but surely making improvements on that Snap-on Chevrolet. He's in a single-digit spot right now. With that pass, he takes P9.
Meanwhile, Adam Benefiel moving forward, trying to close in on the battle for the lead. He has moved right back up to the back bumper of the 96 of Mitch Rollo. That gap was about 3 car lengths last time by. It's down to a tenth of a second, maybe less. Rollo sails it hard down into turn one, Brian. He really wanted to punch it out there, and he did just that time around.
Yes, he did, and it is an incredible battle we're having right now as you have an onboard look from the second place position, Adam Benefiel, trying to work his way to the back bumper of Mitch Rollo. Adam Benefiel has clearly had one of the best cars tonight, and when he gets out front, it looks like he's able to get away, but being back in traffic, it's a little bit harder to do. You don't have that clean air on the nose. It's a little bit harder to get the car to do what you want it to do, and that's exactly what we're seeing right here. He's been out front, and he's been tough to beat, but now that he's behind that 96 of Mitch Rollo, it's a little bit harder to do. It's going to be very interesting to see what he does over the course of the long run. Looking back through the field, though, it's single file pretty much all the way through the top 15 or 16 cars. You have to look all the way back to about the 14th position. It looks like Doug Roth, David Comstock, Matt Lacrosse. These guys are having a really impressive battle back here, racing hard for a top 15 position right now. David Comstock, I'm really surprised, though. He did not have a very fast car at all. He was only 10th fastest in practice. He qualified 17th, and he's been right around this 15th position the entire race. So not the run I was expecting to see him have here tonight.
Not at all. And, you know, there's a couple guys I'm surprised with right now. The 14 of David Comstock not having a great run back there in the 15th position. Evan, I know, you know, we talked about him all season. I thought he was going to be a whole lot better than what he was tonight. That Monster Energy Chevrolet floating back there and just kind of meh. I hate using that word, but that's about all I've got.
He's just floating. 15th right now. We talked about how it should have been the 14th machine at Homestead if you talk about season performance. Strongest car all year, but again, the way the chase works, he got eliminated. Hasn't been that good since. And again, right now, 15th position, started 17th, so I mean, he's still positive, but I mean, he's not doing much. In front of him, you got guys like Joseph LaPlaca, Matt Lacrosse, and Doug Roth fighting. Those are guys that Comstock has bested all season long. Something just not there with the 14 car tonight.
Yeah, and it's kind of puzzling, I think, is the word I heard over the radio at one point. Meanwhile, a couple guys that are moving once again. I've talked about him once tonight, but Brian, how about the Meatball Mobile? Jose Gonzalez has moved up solidly into the top 10 as, you know, he's pulled his way forward. He qualified about the back end of the top 20 and now has quietly moved into the top 10. 3 seconds back of the leader, but knocking on the door of Rhett McBride. That's a battle for 9th.
Yeah, and he's had a very interesting night. If you look at this entire evening, he has improved throughout the evening. He was 26th in practice, 18th in qualifying, and he's up inside the top 10 tonight as of right now during this race, and he's looking to continue that improvement. He's got a fast race car. It took him a little while to get the handling understood so that he could do what he needed to do out there, and now he's starting to move forward, and he's hoping he can challenge for a top 5, and it would be a really nice story if he could get up there and challenge for a win. These are drivers that are not in the chase anymore. They're not really racing too much for points. They're just out here to try to do one thing, and that's win. And with 2 races left, I would like to see one of these non-chasers go up there and spoil the party. We've got 2 up front right now leading this race, but there's a lot of drivers back here that would love to end the season on a high note, and I think Jose Gonzalez is certainly one of those guys.
Working now, lap 61, starting to close in quickly on the halfway point of this race. We thought Adam Benefiel was going to get back to the front. Mitch Rollo's actually extended the gap out, just about to 5 car lengths now in that custom gaming garage number 96 Chevrolet. So, Evan, impressive run by Mitch. He's not a chaser anymore, but boy, he's trying to close out the season strong after some bad luck the last couple of races. He'd like to go back to victory lane one more time this season.
These drivers that have been eliminated from the chase, they're still there and they still fight for up to 5th in the points. Mitch was a top 3 driver, leaving the Challenger 16 round and was the 12th place driver out of 12 in the Contender 12. So the 96 running up front, not a chase driver, but not surprising. He has had this speed all season long. You talk about a couple of races with bad luck, you find yourself out of it, you lose that yellow stripe per se. He can win this race. Adam Benefiel can win a race. How about Dwayne Vincent in 3rd? We talked about the 13. Now with 2 wins in 2015. Seems like it took him forever. Why not double up in the same round for that 13 Haviland Ford? Because, again, the way it sits now, we talk about the points. If somebody below the cut line wins, that shuffles everybody else down a spot because 2 out of the 4 lock-ins have already been taken up. So Dwayne hoping that maybe he can secure a spot and make those guys racing on points. I can guarantee you that if we get a caution late, everything's going to go to whack. But Dwayne Vincent, he would not object, I'm sure, to winning either. And he's been right with Greg Evans. These guys were side by side for third earlier on in the race, and they're still running right with each other, P3 and P4 right now. So they're strong, just not quite there. But I'm seeing a lot of different cars lead, Jacob, and when the cars in the front, they're fast. So Phoenix, not a huge aerodynamic track, but it is a difficult track to race at. Clean air is good, so it could be a very dictating factor in this race. Maybe you don't have to have the best car to win, just get out in clean air and make the right strategy call.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. You were talking about Dwayne, being right there with Greg Evans. All of a sudden, over the last lap or two, he's driven right over to the back bumper of the 77 of Adam Benefield, and all of a sudden, it's a three-car party for the race lead now, within about 0.4 of a second. Vincent's Haviland Ford Fusion closing in on a pair of Chevrolets out front. Benefield wants the lead. Vincent wants both of them through the dogleg. He's right there for second in turn 3.
And Benefield looks content with sitting in second in Roll Speed Dynamics Chevrolet. But once Dwayne Vincent gets to the bumper, there's two things that can happen. Adam can get up on the wheel, go after the 96, or just let the number 13 go on by. Well, it's no surprise the 77 doesn't want to get past, so he's a good job doing right now, actually, is because he's maintaining the speed in that race car. He's not overdriving it, trying to catch the 96, because you can see very clearly once Dwayne really closed that gap in from what was about 0.5 of a second, half a second, to 3 or 2/10 the last time around. They try to spread it out just a little bit more this time through at a turn 4, but the 77, he is content with riding in second. Not only is he saving the race car, he's learning a couple of things too by being able to watch what Mitch is doing up front.
So we watch these three battle for the top spot. Greg Evans closing in to try to make it a four-man fight. A little bit further back in the field. Want to give a call to the 21 of Matt Lacrosse as we complete halfway. This time by 68 down, 67 to go. Lacrosse has charged his way from 30th up to 14th, and as we complete the halfway lap, we're going to take a look at the LSRTV midway race break and go have a look at the Ford full field rundown right now. It's a pair of Chevrolets out in front. Mitch Rollo leads Adam Benefield, highest running Ford performance driver right now. Dwayne Vincent in the third spot, then it's Greg Evans in fourth in another Chevrolet. Christopher Hurlow's Chevy is fifth. Eric Brundy's in a Ford sixth. Thomas George for the Bowtie Brigade, 7th. Jonathan Cadell, the highest running Toyota driver, in the 8th spot. Rep McBride, Jose Gonzalez, the rest of the top 10.
Just outside the top 10, P11, and Benani with a Steve Gottschalk. A good car so far tonight for the Nerfinator. P8 back to P11 at this point. Doug Roth is up 7 spots to run in 12th right now. Up 5 spots, David Comstock continues to float around just outside the top 10 in 13th. 14th position for Brian Harvey. Started top 5, slowly beginning to slide back over the course of the long run as they struggle with the long run speed on that 66. Just behind him, Matt Lacrosse, who started on a provisional, has passed half the 5th. Him back in 17th. Scott Simley's 18th. It's 19th right now for Joseph LaPlaca. We're with a little bit of damage from earlier contact in this one. And at 94 to Sean Bounty rounding out your top 20.
Sean Castro is sitting in the 21st position. Rich Jett is sitting 22nd. One of our chase contenders, Dan Murray, not having the night that we were expecting him to have. He's sitting 23rd after being fastest in practice. That's not what we expected to see him doing tonight. Kyle Tarasca is in the 24th position. 25th goes to Nick Silver. 26th is Nelson Rivera, trying to rebound from that accident he had just a little while ago with Nick Silver. Scott Stenzel's in the 27th position. Joe Dinsmore is 28th. Tom Drilling is 29th. And rounding out the top 30 is Paul Fugate. He's sitting 30th.
31st, the 22 of Douglas Wyatt. Brennan Mercer, 32nd. The last car on the lead lap, Joey Jattina, rides a lap down in 33rd. Anthony DeBarro, we mentioned his connection troubles right at the drop of the green flag. The pole sitter rides 34th, 6 laps down. Then 9 down in 35th. Jimmy North out of this race, 36th. Eric Arnold, Jake Higgins, 37th. That's a look at your Ford performance. Full field rundown here with now 73 of 135 laps complete. Ford go further. Again, a Chevrolet leads the way, though. Mitch Rollo trying to drive off the front of this Arizona freight train. He leads Adam Benefield, Dwayne Vincent, Greg Evans, and Christopher Hurlow here in the desert at Phoenix. From Phoenix International Raceway, this is LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska. We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
Championship leader has taken over. Vincent holds a 22.5 seconds. Welcome back to LSRTV, completing 80 laps here in Phoenix, this time by the Duel in the Desert in the final race of the Real Sim Racing Chase for the Full Throttle Cup Eliminator 8 round. Jacob Seelman, Brian Macklin of Pasoko in the Inside Sim Racing broadcast tower, watching Mitch Rollo lead the way over Adam Benefiel and chase contenders Dwayne Vincent, Greg Evans, and Christopher Hurlow right now. How about the four guys right now, provisionally, Evan, that are in the championship four? Vincent, Evans, Hurlow, and Brundys. I believe that's also the order that they came into this race in those four spots. So they're running right lockstep, 3rd through 6th on the racetrack, and as they run with two non-chasers ahead of them, that's all they need to do to punch their tickets to the Final Four in Homestead.
Yeah, they're running good right now in 3, 4, 5, and 6 all the way through. And the problem is the guys that need to get something done aren't really doing that good. I mean, we talked about the number 5 machine who was doing very good at the start of this one, has since kind of fallen down the ladder and is now trying to kind of struggle to get things back underway. So, you know, there's guys that are in good spots. I mean, the one of Thomas J. George, he's not doing bad in P8. We already saw him do a little bit of strategy, so that might be his only opportunity because, again, being 11, 12, 16 points out, Ward not here to borrow, his chicken pretty much appears to be punched for the night as he's 6 laps down. So, I mean, if you can't get these guys at the 3, 4, 5, and 6, and they don't look like they're slowing down anytime soon, it's going to have to take some kind of a Hail Mary.
You talk about Hail Marys in football. I don't know. I don't know where the Hail Mary is going to come from tonight. We've only got about 50 laps left to try and figure it out. And Cisco Scaramuza, as it comes down to the wire, we'll go down to you on pit road because a couple of guys finally starting to make some moves. David Comstock's picked up a couple of positions over this run. The Monster Energy Chevrolet maybe starting to come to life just a little bit.
Yeah, that's really been his kind of, I don't know, style I've seen the last couple of races. He doesn't really have a he doesn't really have those short run cars, you know. It's normally he's you know, just kind of running. his car kind of comes to him through the run. So sorry about that, but right now I'm hearing he's actually matching what the leaders are putting down right now, which is great, which means he saved his tires and he might start to pour it on in the late stages of this run here.
He needs a caution is what he needs. The problem is we've been about 40 laps without a caution. Longest green flag run of the night, Evan, and as the leaders head for turn 2, we're also starting to see that mean Mitch Rollo falls off just a little bit. Adam Benefiel closing in. We're about to have ourselves a dandy of a little fight for the lead.
And look at the 23 of Greg Evans. We talked about how Dwayne Vincent and Greg Evans were right with each other about 20-25 laps ago from this point. Dwayne left that 23. It became a 3-car fight, and it was Rollo, Benefiel, and Vincent all up and down each other within half a second. That's still the interval for P1, 2, and 3, but as they all start to slow down, and you're talking about the speed difference, Mitch Rollo right now running a 1/10 of a second faster that last time by than Greg Evans in P4, so the speed's still there out front, but they're all closing in. They're really starting to lose these cars now on the old tires. They haven't gone this long all night long. It's uncharted territory. If somebody was really saving something, then they'd be really able to make up a lot of good time here. I know Greg Evans was struggling to hang on, but to be back there in P4 and not letting these guys lose touch, the fact that the top 4 guys are still within 9/10 of a second of each other shows just how evenly matched they are. And how about Adam Benefiel? He got right up against the fence that time out of turn 2, cost him a lot of time.
Yeah, and he had to dive down to the apron, Brian, to save that piece. He almost wadded it in the fence. I was rather shocked by that. That really allows Rollo to blow the gap out to about 6 car lengths.
Yeah, that was a lucky break for the 77. He easily could have lost that and spun it down into the inside wall, so a very impressive job managing to hang on to that car, and that's what these cars are doing right now. They're starting to get loose. The tires have really started to fall off, and as they get later into this run, it's going to get harder and harder to drive these cars, and it's really impressive that we haven't seen more of these drivers have those kinds of issues. And one driver we were talking about a little while ago that he was just kind of hanging around the 15th, 16th position, that's David Comstock. He's working on possibly getting into the top 10. He's sitting in the 11th position, and he's chasing down Thomas George, so trying to start working his way to the front. This is not unusual of David Comstock, though. He's typically one of the better drivers on the long run. It's just taking him a lot longer to get to the front than what we're used to. And actually, as I say that, he gets loose coming through the dogleg. He clipped the apron of the dogleg trying to get through the 14 of David Comstock and almost had a moment of his own getting sideways there. He was able to hang on to it. That's going to cost him some time as he's trying to get up inside the top 10, but that's going to hurt his chances.
2/3 done, 90 in the books, 45 laps to go. The question now starts to come. Do we see green flag pit stops potentially being the final pit stops of this race? Cisco, we're working on a really long green flag run, and from the time they went back green, I don't think they could make it to the end on fuel. The way they're running right now, there's no way they make it to the end on tires.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we're seeing how loose that 77 is coming out of the corner. And I mean, he hasn't even run the hardest. I mean, talking about people like Vincent, who's really trying to get past that 77, even the 96 of Rollo, who's leading this thing, they're both driving really hard right now. So a couple cars actually coming down pit road right now. So maybe it looks like it might have started here. It looks like that's Stenzel and the 8 car as well of Tarasca. So they're going to go off pit. They're going to leave pit road now. So green flag stops already starting to get going here.
Green flag stops underway. Again, we got a few drivers on pit road. Just waiting to see when the leaders will come. Mitch Rollo's got a half-second advantage. And for the first time all night, we're seeing something that's been a little bit of a foreign sight here at Phoenix, Evan. Lapped traffic. Mitch Rollo, the leader to pit road. I'll get back to you, Evan. Cisco.
Yeah, he really cut it close right there as he had to get it stopped before the yellow cones. He locked it up just a little bit at the rear tires, slid the rear tires a little bit, but here he comes down pit road. This has to be a flawless stop right now because the leaders were right there. We see EJ O'Rourke, he's pulling away from his pit stall right now in the 62 car. Right now, Rollo's going to find his pit box. He merges over to the left. Got to make sure not to miss it here. There it is. No, he overshot it. He had to roll back. That's going to hurt him right there. So right now, as we're seeing more cars come down, that's the 77 of Benefield. He's coming down pit road, as well as the 13 of Vincent. That's our leaders coming in right now. But that rolling through the box is definitely going to hurt Rolo right there, guys.
It is. That may be what costs him this race and gives somebody like Benefiel or maybe Vincent a shot to bring another one home. Again, Vincent wants another win before the end of the season to take sole possession of the wins record in the Full Throttle Cup Series. Adam Benefiel hits his mark. Cisco, and he
a little too hard, so he's just going to try and take it easy on this set of tires. So they're just going to put 4 tires on that thing. He felt really good about the car, and there he goes, leaving pit road. Gets it a little bit loose there coming off pit road, trying to get every inch he can, but I believe he's going to cycle around to be the leader here.
That's about as flawless a stop as you're ever going to see in a cycle like this. How about a bonus point for the defending champion, Eric Brundys? Knows he needs to make something happen, get every point he can get in order to transfer to Homestead. He leads this party right now with 95 laps complete. Check that, going to be 96 complete, and Brundys, I believe, is about to be headed in. Cisco, he's waiting a long time. Jose Gonzalez actually just took the lead from him. Benefiel about to unlap himself right here. How long do you wait if you're the 94 car?
You got to come in right now, Jacob. I mean, this is the point where Brundys, he lost that advantage of getting the bonus point. I believe he's going to, no, he isn't. He's going to stay out here. Maybe, I don't know, because I don't think they can make it on fuel, and he's definitely losing a lot of time right now. Maybe waiting for maybe a caution. So we'll have to see what the 94's thinking here.
Brian Macklin, we've already done the math, or at least you've gotten your calculator out and said they're probably 10 laps short. I mean, what on earth are you thinking right now? Or if you're Eric Brundys, are you thinking you're catching a caution and maybe pinning most of these guys a lap down here?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Eric Brundys and I'm staying out this long, that's about the only hope I have at this point. And if I'm going to stay out this long, I'm going to commit to staying out until I run out of fuel at this point. They are going to be a roughly 10 laps short on fuel, anybody that tries to do this strategy. So there's no way they're going to make it to the end of the race without coming back to pit road. But I think at this point, he's made his bet. If he comes down pit road right now, he's going to be 8, 9, maybe even 10 seconds behind the guys that he was just racing with, which was the leaders. He was one of these front runners just a little while ago. So he's going to be so far behind these guys, there's no way he's going to be able to get back up there and challenge for the win now. He's got to stay out here and hope for a caution and hope that it works in this favor, which if it does, it'll be huge because it's going to put a lot of these guys like Adam Benefiel, like Mitch Rolo at a disadvantage because there's going to be several cars between him and those drivers. But right now, I don't like this call at all. I would have come to pit road as soon as everybody else hit pit road.
And how hard was the 96 of Mitch Rolo driving on his out lap in order to pull off what he's pulled off, Brian? Despite overshooting his pit, he extends the gap from half a second to 1.1 over the 77 of Adam Benefiel. How big is this?
That's huge because it's going to make it where he doesn't have any pressure behind him. He can try to save the tires and make sure he's got something left in this car for the last little bit of the race, assuming that Adam Benefiel is able to run him down. We have a hornet's nest around the 94 of Eric Brundys. He is going through some heavy traffic, a lot of guys on fresher tires than him. He's in a very dangerous place right now because he's the slowest guy out here. So these guys are having to go around him. He's going to put himself in a really bad position and could end up getting caught up in a wreck because he's trying to stay out of the way. All these other drivers are trying to work their way around him. It's going to get really hairy in the next few laps as he almost makes contact with the 43 of Doug Roth. They were 3 wide through the dogleg and he had to really be evasive. Now he's just sent up the track and trying to stay out of the way as much as he can. A whole line of cars that are getting ready to fly by him here.
My worry now, though, guys, is you look at what Brundys is doing. If he runs out of fuel with 9 or 10 laps to go or has to make a late race pit stop, he's going to give up so many points, he may put himself in jeopardy of actually falling out of the chase grid. I said, Brian, you said you don't like this call. I agree with you. I can't stand it right now. I don't know what these guys are doing. His only hope is to pull a caution flag now.
Yeah, that's about the only chance he's got at this moment in time is a caution, and we haven't seen one in so long. These guys have been green since lap 50. That's almost 55 laps that they've been out here green flags. So the trend has started to go towards this thing staying green to the end. You have to pay attention to these things. This is a horrible call. If I'm the crew chief here, I don't know what you're doing because this is going to not only cost him a shot at a good finish, but like you said, it's going to have a huge implication on the chase if he doesn't get a caution because he's going to have to pit I assume he's going to need 4 tires. I can't imagine he's going to come in and take 2 or only take gas. And when that happens, he's going to easily go a lap down, which is going to put him outside the top 20, maybe even outside the top 25 by the time it gets cycled through. He's not going to be able to make up that much time.
Right now, though, Jose Gonzalez is your race leader by 2.8 seconds over Doug Roth with 30 laps to go. We're going to take our final commercial break, and since we're past halfway, we're going to go LSRTV side by side, so you won't miss a thing. Drama shaping up in the Eliminator 8 finale from Phoenix International Raceway. You're watching iRacing Live and LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
in the outside, contact made, 56 slides it at a 4, who's going to be into the stripe, dead even, give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Monza is a very historic track. It's been around since the 20s, and it's gone through several permutations since then. We're also bringing forward a number of configurations. So there's chicanes that they've installed since the track's early days. So they can use original, very high-speed configurations of the track where the cars would just blow through where the chicanes are today, or they could use a more modern version. So it's a pretty cool, compelling track. The unique thing about Monza is it has a road course, but it also has a high-speed oval, and that high-speed oval can be...
We're back live at a virtual Phoenix International Raceway inside of 30 laps to go, and a caution flag is going to change the complexion of this race. 3 cars, 3 wide in turn number 3. The 96 in the middle of it all, the 77 topside, and the 5 of Dan Murray needing a good run at Phoenix tonight. Gets into the 96, and Brian, close call. It looks like Mitch Rollo in the 96 and that 5 machine on the bottom of Dan Murray. They both just kind of find each other, and it all breaks loose from there.
Yeah, that was a very interesting wreck right there. It looked like Dan Murray was trying to get down on the apron to get out of the way, and he slid up onto the racing surface. It looks like he might have got in there a little hot trying to get down out of the way and just wasn't able to get the car slowed down. That created a situation for those 2 drivers that were already battling for what could have been the race for the lead. And it just bottled everything up, and we saw contact, and we saw the 96 go around, and we saw the 77 make contact with the wall. And meanwhile, on pit road, we have all these drivers that were taking a risk here, staying out and trying to gamble, and it worked in their favor. We were talking about Eric Rumney's and how we didn't understand his call at all. He stayed out and waited for a caution, and he got it, and now he's going to be sitting 3rd. And Cisco, I want to let you give us a little update here on all these drivers that elected to stay out. Is this what they were hoping for, or was it just a strange bit of luck that got them what they were looking for?
This is what they're hoping for. This is what they're praying for. I don't think there was any other reason they were out there other than to hope they could get a caution, because that completely changes who we're talking about. And especially because the wreck was with the leaders, who were probably going to inherit the lead there. we got a bunch of fresh faces up at the front. I mean, right now we have Jose Gonzalez. He came in, took 4. He's got the lead right now. Doug Roth in that 43 STP machine. He's running second. And then we have Eric Brundys, who we all were sitting here scratching our heads during the commercial break like, is he insane? What's he doing? And sure enough, now he makes us all look kind of, you know, like we have egg on our face, because right now he's sitting third. He's got a huge wall of cars between the people he has to beat.
And it's a gamble that may pay off. And we talk about gambling. Well, we saw the one of Thomas J. George gamble early, Brian, with 2 tires. And you like that call because it was early. Test it out, see what that does, put it in your back pocket to know for later. But I mean, the 94 machine of Eric Brundys is an RSR Full Throttle Cup Series champion. He doesn't make that move without going into it knowing something, but I mean, it was a huge risk for the 94. It's good on him now. And by the way, we were talking about Vincent, Evans, Hurlo, and Brundys as of into tonight. The top 4 drivers running 3, 4, 5, 6 on the racetrack, and they were all good. They're all shuffled up again as we get set for another restart.
Yeah, that changes everything around, and it definitely worked in Eric Brundys' favor. You talked about how he had to know what the implications were there, and he did. He definitely understood that by staying out, he was putting himself at a very bad disadvantage. If that thing had stayed green, there was no way this was going to work in his favor, and it was likely going to cost him a shot at the chase. But now, he's got a new life. He's sitting third. He's got a fast car. He's been up front all night, and these guys that are in front of him, they haven't been up front all night, so this is going to be an interesting restart with Jose Gonzalez leading him to the green.
Gonzalez, a former Full Throttle Cup Series winner in the chase a year ago, and now with Doug Roth to his outside, this could be a big night. And for Eric Brundys, it may be a night where he can win to advance to Homestead. Green flag back in the air, and we have now just 22 laps to go in Phoenix. Roth slides down to the bottom to take second. Brundys falls in third. The guy that may be the big beneficiary right now, Thomas George, he rides 7th. Christopher Hurlo, 13th. That's the battle for potentially the final transfer spot to the chase.
And that is 2 wide, still stacked up for the restart. Everybody behind the number 52 Speed Energy Chevrolet is Sean Casto. 3 wide now down to turn number 1. Evans to the inside. It's the 52 in the middle. Rich Jet goes way topside to try to get out of the 3 wide. And now contact with the 11 and the 52. That's Cadell pushing his way through.
Yeah, these guys are going at it hard right now as they work through the dog leg. You see Thomas George now trying to work his way around the number 52 of Sean Casto. He's trying to punch his ticket into the chase. He needs a little bit of help. Dwayne Vincent gets loose off turn 4, does a great job saving it, but that's going to stack up the 1 of Thomas George. He had to check up in order to not hit him, and now he slides back a little bit. Now you see Dwayne Vincent trying to get back ahead of the 52 of Sean Casto, tries to slide up in front of him. The 52 makes slight contact with the wall, and that allows Thomas George to get back underneath him to start this battle again. But these guys are racing hard. They know what is at stake. As the 36 gets contact, he's around. We have another caution. The 36 of Rich Jet is around in 3.
Caution flag flies at lap 116, and we're going to set up for another barn burner of a finish here on iRacing Live and LSRTV. Could it get any tighter than this? Now Hurlo's worked his way back up to 11th. George rides 8th. That would put him back in the final transfer spot. Would Hurlo right now? It's changing almost lap by lap, Evan. You take a look at the replay of what puts us under yellow.
And that's just right where all of that was. We talked about the 36 going way topside in turn 1. Contact, he spins it around, and then as he goes up to the wall, they collect Scott Stenzel. That's just a case of inside of 20 laps to go. It's a racing deal there. But again, the caution gives us another opportunity to slow him down, group him back up, and go back at it. And, you know, we're talking about 26 drivers on the lead lap. 32 guys all the way through, just 1 lap to the negative. So for the green flag stretch that we had, Jacob, having 26 guys on the lead lap is great stuff, great racing. Problem is, that means that there's still a lot to lose. We talked about there being 26 points separating Hurlo and DeBarro into tonight. The highest driver in on points, the lowest driver out on points. We've documented the problems for DeBarro, who is 7 laps down. He's not going to be able to get the job done. Jeff Ward not here. So in reality, that gap, no more than 21 points amongst everybody, and there's over 26 point differential between first on the lead lap and last on the lead lap. Nobody is still safe to this point.
94 Eric Brundys rides third, did a great job of slotting in single file on that most recent restart. They're quiet on the radios so far. Cisco, any updates from the defending champ?
You mentioned they're quiet on the radio. That's mainly because the crew chief for that car, Joey English, in the 90 for Eric Brundy's, he wasn't actually able to get into the sim tonight, was having trouble logging on to the service. So all the strategy coming into that 94 has been of the 94s doing, and maybe a little planning by the guys down in Timmy Hill Motorsports. But I talked to Joey English just now, and they said that strategy they're talking about staying and hoping for the caution, they had talked about this last week. So, I mean, that just goes to show they've been planning this stuff plenty ahead. And Brundy's, I believe, just figured, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and give it a shot here. So that's what he did, and it paid off huge for that White Castle Ford Fusion.
Wow. I mean, how tight is this? Coming down to the finish. Couple of points between a couple of drivers. Christopher Hurlow needs a solid night. Evan, are you still buying the 87 sneaks into this championship round?
He's P11 right now, and he can't lose any more than 10 spots. His big concern is the number 5 of Dan Murray, who is back in 21st. Murray is on the pit lane, just has not had the speed that he had in practice after getting some damage. I'm thinking he's looking pretty good now. But again, this restart inside of 15 laps to go, you get hit by one car, you can lose 26 points. It's a whole new ball game. So if anything, if I'm up there in 7th, I'll take a P9 over a P7 if that means that I can make it safely across the start-finish line. So we know it's going to get crazy. I don't think it's out of the ballpark to think that some of these chase guys are just going to try to get as far away from side-by-side racing as possible, because it's just not worth it. It's like a qualifying race, Jacob. It's a heat race. Where you're good now, that is enough to get you to Homestead. You don't need any more. You can't lose any more, though. Just stay where you are.
As long as he can see the one of Thomas George on this final run, I think he's going to be okay. He just needs to do his best not to get caught up in somebody else's mess here. We're going to have a 15-lap dash to the finish. Can Jose Gonzalez pick up his first Full Throttle Cup Series win in more than a year? Kansas 2014, the last time he was able to do it. That got Meatball's entry, and right now, green flag flop.
And it's pile up on the front straightaway. Paul Fugate involved in this one, the number 45 Chevrolet. He comes into this secondarily, though. It's big problems at a turn number 4, and this one comes from a checkup on the outside for the restart as we take a look and get that LSRTV replay up for you in a moment. It all starts with the 66 of Brian Harvey, a night that started so good inside the top 5. He's beat through the ringer. He was 20th for the restart. He gets checked up a little bit after he spins the tires, the 15 into the back of him, and at that point, it's just a chain reaction. Scott Simley punted by Matt Lacrosse, and the track was blocked for all of those guys trying to get through the gear. Couple of guys up and over. That was at least 8 or 9 cars involved in that accident.
Yeah, that was a huge accident. Fortunately for all the chase drivers, that was behind them, so they didn't have to worry about it. Something that did change, though, in that 50 yards or so that they did run right there was Greg Evans was able to get ahead of the 94 of Eric Brundy's just by about a half a nose, but it was enough for when the caution came out, he was scored ahead of Eric Brundy, so that pushes Brundy's back to 4th, which is going to make him starting on the outside line for this next restart. Christopher Hurlow also slipped back to the 12th position. He's still safe, he's still comfortable, but he's just a little bit further back and has more cars around him now that he's going to have to be careful when they go back green.
And another big moment here under this, another guy that got shuffled to the outside, the 87 of Hurlow as well, and that could be critical. George and Hurlow 8th and 12th now. Thomas needs to beat him by 15 spots. Dan Murray needed to beat him by 10 spots, and Murray right now sits behind him. So, Evan, you got to think at this point, Hurlow's in a pretty safe position here.
Yeah, P12, and he lost his spot on that restart. He went to 12th, but again, he's knowing that Thomas J. George at 8th spot can't beat him by 15 positions if he remains inside of the top 12 where he sits right now. So he's perfectly content with riding where he is. Thomas J. George pretty much you have to go for a win here. Everybody else in the same situation. We talked about Jeff Ward being out of the equation before this race started. Almost the same conversation with Anthony DeBarro. So we really came in with 4 drivers vying for 2 spots. Herlo, the number 87, was good by 10 points. He's in 12th. Brundys, who was good by just 6 points at the time coming in, is in 4th. Both of those guys doing exactly what they need to do.
Yeah, that was a very big moment, though, for all these drivers, and they got very lucky that there wasn't a wreck in front of them. They have to do this one more time, though, maybe a couple more times, depending on how many more cautions we're going to get, and this is going to make things very stressful for these chasers that don't have a locked-in spot for the Final Four. They have to keep going through these restarts. The restarts are the most dangerous part of any race because you're bunched up, you're double file. You're going to be, especially now they're going to be restarting inside 10 to go. You're going to be going after everything you can get, and for a lot of these guys, there's nothing to lose. For David Comstock, Rhett McBride, Sean Casto, even Dwayne Vincent and Greg Evans, all these guys that are up here around the top 10, top 15, there's just nothing to lose. They can't go any further back. They're not in the chase anymore, or in Dwayne and Greg's case, they're locked in for next week. So these guys are going to race hard, and that's going to make things very difficult for Christopher Herlo, for Thomas George, for Eric Brundys. Dan Murray is the only one that I'm a little concerned about as well because he's in 22nd. He's pretty much out of this at this point. Unless something big happens, I don't see him being able to rebound.
135 laps start to finish tonight, and this one is going to be decided inside of the final 10. We're glad to have you with us, and I'm sure you're glad you're tuning in because this is for a 2015 championship. Not only have these drivers found them spots and they sit in at the moment for the prior 2 races in this round of 8, but for the prior 31 races in 2015 have led up to this point. Lights on a pace car should be coming off this next time around. Inside of 10 to go. Door is still open for one more restart, but we have to mention that if a caution flies with less than 4 to go, Jacob, this race would end under a caution flag with the lack of a green-white checker.
And you got to think Jose Gonzalez has got to be smiling at this right now, thinking he's got a little bit of a gift here. You know, nobody expected him to have a shot at this race win tonight, and all of a sudden he's up here. Doug Roth is up here with the shot to challenge for his first Full Throttle Cup Series victory, Evan. There's a lot of stories coming into these final, what's going to be 9 laps to the finish. You're right, we've got a window for one more restart. And, you know, stop and consider, Dwayne Vincent's not out of this yet either, nor is Greg Evans. The 2 guys who have won in this round sit 3rd and 7th, respectively. The problem is they need it to go green. Evans does especially, and I'm not so sure that we won't see that caution that you're talking about here. They're working through the dog leg. Brundys is up there in 4th. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing. He was the 4th man in on points coming into this race. He sits there. He advances as well. Pace car heads for pit road. 9 miles away from victory lane for one driver. Gonzalez quick on the hammer. Shakes the tires a bit, but we are green. Now, can Roth get to the bottom? Answer: no, he cannot. Greg Evans stuffs it down into turn number 1. The PPG Chevrolet on the move, and caution flag flies.
And it's a spinner back to number 8 machine, Kyle Tarasco, running in 19th position, about where he's been all night long. Ducked to the inside lane in front of the 66 of Brian Harvey, and then ducked to the bottom and had to get hard on the brakes, and that does not work. Harvey, really no opportunity to get on the brakes. Those guys get together. That's about desperation, trying to get in line. So Tarasco goes for a spin. Harvey's night continues to get worse by the lap as he started P5 and now 20th, and more damage on board. And now we can tell you that this next restart will be the last one.
Yes, we can. And now Jose Gonzalez is really in position, Brian Macklin, to maybe steal a
the 66
win here.
of Brian Harvey, and then ducked to the bottom and had to get hard on.
You know, we thought there was no way, and the caution fell perfectly. He's one restart away from victory lane.
Yeah, and what an incredible story this is going to be for Jose Gonzalez. He didn't have the year that he wanted. He wasn't able to do anything with the chase. He just was not able to be as competitive as he wanted to be. And this is a great way to cap off a season if he can pull this off. We know he has one more restart, and he still has to battle hard. He's got Doug Roth and Greg Evans who are going to challenge him. But I really want to see Jose Gonzalez win this race. Be a great way to end the season for him. And there'll be middle fingers all around, I'm sure, if he goes to victory lane. It's going to be a very interesting and a unique celebration if he can win.
That is a hallmark of Jose Gonzalez's victory lane celebrations. Joey Gittina's already saying it's done. He must not realize there's still 5 laps to go when we get it back underway. And I want to give a call now to one more driver that has impressed me on this final run, Evan. You know, he got knocked out of the chase in round 2, but nice drive tonight for the GTR Simulators, number 11, a Jonathan Cadell up there in 4th spot. Great run for him.
Yeah, and he's really surged here late in the race, which is something that, you know, the 1 of Thomas J. George needs, or the 5 of Dan Murray, but Dan so far down in 19th, it's not going to happen, I don't think. Thomas J. George still P8. He needs to get lucky on one of these restarts. Cadell has gone from a top 10 car to a top 5 car in the last 20-25 laps. He's made up a lot of spots late. Again, he wants to win races because he's no longer in this championship. So he's not really going to care much about a P4, but it is a good run, again, because everybody outside of the top 8 drivers now in the chase, and in about, 10 minutes or 5 minutes at that, the top 4 drivers as we get our field for Homestead, everybody else that qualified for the chase, they're still going for a top 5 in points, so you still got to be out there, keep nailing at it.
All right, so 5 laps to go. It should be 4 to go, I believe, when we get the restart. We're expecting the lights to go off this time. Brian, does Jose Gonzalez get the caution he needs on this restart to win the race, or do you think we have a chance at running this out?
I think you're probably going to see another caution, but I don't think he necessarily needs the caution. He's got a fast enough car where I think for a handful of laps he could stay up here and hold on to this lead. He's been a decent car in the later part of this race. I talked about it earlier, how he started off and he wasn't that fast. He was only 26th fastest in practice. He qualified 18th, so he didn't have a very stellar qualifying lap, but he has slowly worked his way through the field. He had climbed up inside the top 10 before all this with the green flag run and the caution happened. He was working on moving up further inside the top 10, close to the top 5 when all this happened, so I think he's got a good enough car where he can win this race even if it does stay green.
The lights stay on that time through, so at least one more lap comes off the board. This time around, there will be just remaining at lap 131 into the books, lap 132 into the works. 4 laps to go. They go off this time by. That would give these drivers a 3-lap shootout to the end of this race. It's a 24 Gonzalez. Doug Roth will find himself on the outside of the front row. The number 43 STP Ford Fusion. Greg Evans, though, we talked about that 43 of Roth on a restart. If the 23 can get inside of the 43, if they make it to the backstretch, that's a pretty wide dogleg. Greg Evans a little bit quicker all night, might be able to power his way around the 26. We're about to find out not only the winner, though, but our chase grid, because the lights on the pace car are off, and Jose Gonzalez, the field's yours.
Oh boy, and you know, I was just listening to the Boomtown Sim radio right here. Christopher Hurlow wants this race to go yellow right away, freeze the field. He's in position to advance and he knows it. He would just as soon, this would be the happiest 12th or 13th place finish that he's ever had if he can catch a caution and end this race just like it's running right now. As it is, though, the guys up front hoping for a win. Jose Gonzalez going to lead the field to a 3-lap shootout in the desert. We're a couple miles away from a win at Phoenix, deciding a winner. Pace car's off. Gonzalez leads him off turn 4. Green flag flies at lap 133. 3 laps to settle it. Gonzalez heads for turn 1. Roth slides right down. Oh! Roth turned him! Caution flag is out. Who gets through to win the race?
The caution flies for the 26 machine, and the question is, who does the sim give the win, Jacob? And if the RSR officials go back and override the sim's decision based on who was in front at the yellow? Talked about the 23 trying to get to the inside. Well, Doug Roth made the contact. That could as well be an EOL penalty for the 43 machine. It looks like Greg Evans might somehow get it without even having to use his own bumper.
Oh my goodness, are you kidding me right now? I think the sim is giving it to the 43 of Doug Roth, or at least Doug Roth seems to think he's got the win of this race. But again, this This could come down to the officials' tower. Let's take a look at the replay right here, Evan. The move was a chop from the outside down low.
Yeah, he went in behind him, and, you know, coming onto this restart, it could very well be that 43 machine is thinking, okay, I gotta move him. That's a very real possibility, Brian, as a driver to go in there, but, you know, you can move somebody, and then you can hit them too hard, and on the sim at a short track, it's very difficult to walk that fine line. He gets into him. Unfortunately for Jose Gonzalez, he gets junked in all of this, and that caution comes out, I mean, right when Greg Evans or Doug Roth are side by side. If you would expect it to be, though, that the 43 machine is the EOL, then Greg Evans, I would assume, would clearly get the win in this one.
Yeah, and actually Doug Roth just claimed that caution. He took responsibility for it, so he will receive the end of longest line penalty, which will give the victory to Greg Evans. I want to go back to what you were talking about with the whole bump and run situation. That's all fine and well, but this is a scenario that makes that a little bit harder to do because you do have where the admins can take the win away from you. Go ahead, Jacob.
And there's no need for it because Doug Roth comes over the radio right here, claims responsibility for the caution. He doesn't even want to have to give it to the admins for review. He knows it was his bumper that turned Jose Gonzalez, and that's going to hand the lead and the win as we come off to the checkered flag. Greg Evans, a winner at Phoenix International Raceway. That is his second win of the round of 8. He was already in. He is in with authority now. Dwayne Vincent, third. Eric Brundy's fourth will advance. And Christopher Hurlow, with a top 10 effort, will move on. Those are your 4 drivers who will race for a championship in Homestead, Miami. But for Greg Evans, the celebration begins now.
And those guys side by side, it looked like that iRacing was initially going to give it to the 43, Jacob, but even if the 43 didn't cause the caution, a review shows that at the time the caution lights came on, the 23 would have been in front anyways, so I believe that would have been overruled post-race, but Greg Evans talked about being in the right spot at the right time.
He was in the right spot at the right time, and we'll talk with him when we come back for the LSRTV post-race show. You'll also hear from your championship contenders, Dwayne Vincent, Eric Brundy's, Christopher Hurlow. We're back with more from Phoenix in a moment. This is LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
Championship leader has taken over.
Vincent holds a 22.5 seconds.
Top 10 for most of this race, actually.
Trucking has always been a part of me. It started years ago when my dad and granddad were hauling vegetables to market in Liverpool. The family immigrated to Canada in the late 60s and settled near Alliston, Ontario. I bought my first truck in 1982 and Mercer Trucking was born. Today, Mercer Trucking has over 50 trucks in terminals in Toronto and Los Angeles. Our storage facilities at both terminals can handle any size of distribution needs throughout North America. We service the continental U.S., including Hawaii and Alaska, We run over 120,000 miles per month and some of the best equipment on the road today. We specialize in less than truckload shipments, show freight, we do rush team service deliveries, and haul your refrigerated or heated product. Our regular team service from Canada to California is second to none, and our staff and drivers are among the best in the business. I'm proud of our people and what they can achieve. Trucking is in my blood, it's my livelihood, and it's what I do best.
While lions are notorious for their voracious appetites, they spend a great deal of time feeding other creatures. In fact, lions will take great care to ensure there's plenty to go around. As you can see, they keep giving with utter ferocity. Bravo, lions, and bon appetit. Do good, be a lion.
In the outside, contact made. 56 slides in at a 4. Who's going to be at the stripe? Dead even. Give it to Ryan Truex. Truex is your winner over Tandy.
Welcome back to LSRTV, the voice of sim racing. Post-race, beginning from Phoenix International Raceway, Jacob Seelman, Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin, Cisco Scarmou's headed trackside now to catch up with some of the drivers who were involved in a wild finish tonight. Greg Evans gets the victory, but the story was everything behind him here in the final laps. You're looking at the replay now and seeing that it was one of those times where Doug Roth going for a win, Jose Gonzalez wanted a win. They were both going for the same piece of real estate, and at the end of the day, they collide, and what a mess it turned into as Gonzalez went spinning, and on his way to victory, Evans gets through, Doug Roth gets penalized, and you're actually going to hear from both of them right now. I want to start with the 43 of Doug Roth, who was the one that ended up making the contact. Doug, first off, you guys were both fighting. You and Jose were. You looked to go to the outside, then made the dive, clipped him. What was it like from your driver's seat? I know it had to be kind of gut-wrenching there, knowing you were that close, and then to get together the way you two did.
Yeah, it certainly was. It was, a lot of hard racing, and Jose's a teammate of mine, so the last thing I wanted to do was take him out. But truth be known, it was all drivers there. I went to hit the brake and hit my clutch, and RPMs went up and didn't slow down, and tagged them in the ass end there going into one. So short-hated for the 43 STP guys. We had a real good run, real good car tonight. Thought we had a chance to get the win, our first Monday night Full Throttle Cup win. Haven't won one of these yet. Won a couple RSR races, but not in Full Throttle Cup. So sour taste in my mouth, but you know what? We were close. We know we can get the job done, so we'll look forward to next week at Homestead.
I was going to say, is it encouraging knowing that you had the speed to be up there with the guys tonight, and that caution there in the middle of green flag pit stops really, really cut you guys a break too?
Yeah, with our track position and the way, we decided that we were going to stay out and at this track, and as loose as it gets, lose about a second and a half to the guys with the fresh tires. So once we were out for a while, we knew that, we basically made our bed and we had to lay in it. So rolled the dice, and fortunately it worked out for us, and we were able to stay out front, and just wish we would have had a little bit better finish.
Well, we appreciate you coming up and talking with us for a minute, Doug. I hate that it ended the way it did, but we will see you in Homestead.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jake. Appreciate it.
That's Doug Roth, and now as we move a little bit further down pit road, going to hear from the other side of the two teammates as we catch up with Jose Gonzalez as well. Jose, you were close to another win. It's been over a year, not since Kansas in the chase last year. You almost had one. You really, I know, wanted a caution there at the tail end to be able to make it happen, and unfortunately, you got the caution. You just were the caution. Doug came up here a minute ago. Obviously, you two are teammates racing for the win, and he said he caught the clutch, and there was just nothing he could do after that. How tough is it, though, for you to see one slip away like that?
Yeah, it was. It's pretty tough. I was very hopeful. I raced the race I wanted to do, and I haven't been practicing much yet, so getting a win is very hard for me now. And I'm just you see me in these full throttle Cup Series races, and I'm the guy taking 2 tires. I'm doing all I can because I don't have the speed, but. So I got to do it in strategy, and so yeah, I took two left side tires once and got up like 12 spots, and then afterwards I took 4 tires, and my car was really good on the long run, and I was doing good. Everybody was complaining about the way their cars were driving, and I felt fine, and so I decided to go for it and go for till the gas went out, and hope for a caution, and then it happened. I got the caution. I got lucky, and I came out first and with 4 brand new tires, and at the end of these races, you can count on a few cautions. So that's what I was counting on, and I was counting on these cautions, but. He hit the clutch.
It's refreshing, honestly. I think that you two as teammates can kind of chuckle about this, and I know you probably won't let him live this one down for a while, huh?
Yeah, we got we got our teammates busting on him for that. He was honest about it.
Well, Jose, I know there's probably some people for you to thank. Anybody you need to give a shout out to?
Yeah, all my teammates. I got so many teammates now. I don't even know all their names, but yeah, Doug and Brian and Scott and Hippie, and the guys at ITSR, CJ and Stefan Marinag and Steve Herring. They do an awesome job for ITSR also, and the meatball company in Puerto Rico. Best meatballs, meatball mobile.
Yes, sir. Always fun. Jose Gonzalez gets the short end of the stick tonight, but definitely still managing a smile. So we'll see Jose here before the end of the season. Right now, though, want to throw it a couple of steps up pit road and talk with the first of our chase contenders that's advancing to the final round. Dwayne Vincent standing by with Cisco Scaramouza.
Yeah, I've caught up here down on pit road with Dwayne Vincent. Dwayne, you finished 3rd here tonight, and that'll lock you into the chase. That's got to feel good. You're going to be able to contend for that win and going into Homestead.
Yeah, we were locked in after Texas last week, so tonight we were just really out having some fun. I was hoping that Adam Benefield could have won it, and I think he had a really good shot at it, and he got caught up in some other people's mess. He's had some bad luck this year. He had some really good runs and always seems to end up on the short end of the stick with somebody else's troubles. But yeah, it was a crazy race, really. But happy to come home third.
Yeah, it definitely took a load off your shoulders, getting it done at Texas. You're able to come in here and just kind of, go around. But what's kind of the viewpoint? Do you still want to go out there and win? Do you want to just see how other people are doing? What's the mindset, in a race like this where you're locked in? What's the game plan?
Well, if it was somebody up there that needed to win to get in, we were going to try to do everything we could, Adam and I, to win this race, to keep them out. There's some really stiff competition. I'm not sure what happened to Jeff Ward. I don't know why he didn't show up tonight. He's a really tough competitor. Obviously, DeBarro had his problems, electrical problems tonight. Hate to see that because he's a tough competitor as well. But still in all, there's 3 tough competitors that's going into Homestead, and we're looking forward to it. But we were out here trying to win.
Well, you go into Homestead, you got to be looking forward to that, a shot at the championship. What, you starting to feel the jitters yet, going into that championship race?
I'm sure I will once Monday night rolls around, but for the most part, I think we just need to approach it like just like any other race all year long. Shoot, just practice, be as most prepared that we can, and just run our race, and hopefully everything will just fall the way we want it to.
All right, well, you finished P3 here. Who gets it done for you and your team?
Adam Bitterfield. Want to say thanks to him. Hopefully we can get a lot of practice in for Homestead this week. Mom and Dad for watching at home. Everybody at LSRTV and everybody at RSR. We appreciate it.
All right, well, that's Dwayne Vincent. He's locked into Homestead, so you'll be seeing him race for a championship next week. But right now, up pit road a couple more stalls. I believe Ryan Macklin is caught up with Jonathan Cadell.
Yeah, Jonathan Cadell had a very interesting night. You finished second after what was a very wild last 20 to 25 laps. Take us through what you had to go through to try to get as close to the front and almost have a shot to win. Of course, you weren't there until everything happened with Doug Roth and Jose Gonzalez, but it's still very interesting.
Yeah, man. Well, that long green run helped. I was starting to pick off Eric Brundy's there, and we were catching the leader. And I saw everybody started to pit. I've been bit earlier this week when I didn't pit. And so I decided to go ahead and pit. And wouldn't you know it, the caution came out. So when we restarted at the end, I think we were 8th maybe, caught a couple of lucky breaks there on the restarts and had a bird's eye view there for the incident there between Roth and Gonzalez. I hated for both of those guys. I'd like to see them get a win. But, hey, it's my first top 3 of the year, so I can't complain too much.
Yeah, and we talk about that. That was a very good finish for you. We have one race left next week at Homestead, Miami. What are your plans going into the 2016 season? And obviously, we expect you to try to go out there and try to win next week at Homestead. But do we expect to see you back in this series full time in 2016?
You bet. I know next year I've got a lot more practicing to do. Last year, I'm not saying I didn't drive as hard as I did this year, but last year it felt like I lucked into getting me into the championship round. And, this year I was eliminated by Talladega, which it was hard for me to take at first, putting in all that effort. But I will do a lot more practice, work with my teammates there at Still Horse Racing, and hopefully we can make the chase and just go from there in 2016. But we will definitely be back full time next year.
And that is good to hear. You always put on a show and make things interesting, and we enjoy your onboard camera that you have set up in your house, so we get to occasionally go on board with you here on LSRTV. And before we let you go, just want to give you a chance to give any sponsors or friends a shout out real quick.
Well, I had a GTR simulator came on board this year. Getting that second place in the championship last year really helped with that. So I'd like to thank them. You can use my promo code JCadell25D10C, save 25% with those guys. Thank all my teammates at Still Horse Racing. Hate it for Dan and Thomas not advancing, but we got one last hope there in Greg Evans, and I know he's the man that can get it done. And thank you guys at LSRTV for having my onboard camera, watching live on Twitch. for those of you that haven't been to my Twitch channel, it's still Horse Racing TV on Twitch. If you want to be entertained and are not easily offended, I recommend giving it a look.
All right, that is Jonathan Goodell, second place finisher here tonight at the Phoenix International Raceway. We congratulate him on that. And now we are going to move a little bit further down pit road where Evan Pasoko has caught up with one of our championship four. That's Christopher Hurlow.
It was a strong finish tonight at the Phoenix International Raceway, a P10 for the driver of the number 87 machine, and that's exactly what was needed to be safe and go on to the Homestead of Miami Speedway. The official gap at the end of the night, plus 9 points over the cut line. Christopher Hurlow will fight for a 2015 Full Throttle Cup Series championship, and Chris, congrats on the solid run here tonight. You didn't need a great finish. You had the biggest gap out of anybody. You just needed a solid one. That's exactly what you got. And what was the mindset through this one?
The mindset was just to keep the car clean and, just like you said, just get a solid top 10 finish. But I believe we had a top 5 car. Just we took 2 tires and it didn't work out for us. But being able to finish P10, that's what we needed. So couldn't ask for much more, really.
You guys have done very well all season to make it to this championship, and you guys have cut it quite close, I will say. You were the last advancing driver in the round of 16, second to last in the 12th, and last in the 8th out of the 4 drivers that move on. So that means that guys are going to be looking at names like Dwayne Vincent, Greg Evans, because they won in this most recent round to advance. They're going to be looking at Eric Brundies because he's a past Full Throttle Cup Series champion. Why should they keep an eye on that number 87 machine, almost coming into this now as the dark horse of the 4?
Yeah, we come in as an underdog, and that's okay. We kind of like that name tag, and we'll keep it. But I think people should just realize that we've been trying to stay under the radar and not make so much noise and keep out of the drama, keep out of the wrecks, and just be consistent in this entire chase. But we're not going to be doing that at Homestead. We're going to come out swinging at Homestead and show everybody what we really got.
Homestead, a racetrack that you go into, all 4 of the drivers are tied. The best finish gets it. And looking at the competition level, it's very easy to say that that race is pretty much a win to get the championship. You have to go for the win that one. Homestead's an interesting racetrack because it's a 1.5 mile intermediate, but it's not a tri-oval, quad-oval, anything like we've seen so far all season long. I'm sure the next 6 days up to next Monday night are going to be full of a lot of testing with you and your RCO Boomtown Sim team. But once you get to Homestead, what do you think is going to be the key to getting away with the best finish you can there and maybe walking away with a big trophy?
Yeah, we're just going to practice as much as possible, and when we get to Homestead, we're going for the win. Nothing more, nothing less. We're going to do whatever we can do to finish first and win the race, because I think that's the only way you're going to win the championship. With the guys that we have in the field, they're so competitive. It wouldn't blow my mind if we finish 1, 2, 3, 4. So the competition is just that much stacked, and hopefully go there and win the race.
There was a point in this race where all 4 of you guys that advanced were running in unison, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know how close this is going to be. It has been a long season, though. 32 races since Daytona to get to this chase and to make a splash here in one of the toughest sim race at Oval Series on the sim. I know there's a lot of sponsors and people behind the scenes at RCO Boomtown that make it possible. You're fighting on behalf of them all for a championship. I'll let you give a call to them.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all my teammates and Race Chaser Online. Go to them to check them out. They have a bunch of cool articles on racing, and we'll keep you up to date. Performance Motorsports Network, they're on our car weekly. Custom Gaming Garage, Speed 77 Radio. I'd like to thank my wife. She lets me do this, and she's under the weather right now, and we're wishing her all the best. And I'd like to thank my parents that tune in daily and all the fans out there.
We hope everybody is feeling better by next Monday. Christopher, thanks for sticking around and chatting. We'll let you get back to the team. It'll be a long 6 days, I'm sure, but we're looking forward to it. We wish you the best of luck, and we'll see you on Monday.
All right, 10-4. Thank you, guys.
That's Christopher Hurlow with a P10 tonight at Phoenix. He qualifies in 9 points over Thomas J. George for the 4th slot in the Championship 4. Going to pass it back down to the pit lane to the driver of the number 94, Eric Brundies, P4. He as well is going to Homestead, and Cisco Scaramuza. You've caught up with him.
Yeah, Eric. Tonight was a really interesting night. You know, we were sitting up in the pit in the broadcast booth, like What is he doing tonight? We had no idea about that strategy call, but you made it work. The caution came out. Talk about that call. I mean, I talked to Joey, and he said you guys had been sort of talking about maybe doing something like that last week. Was that kind of how that whole thing started?
Well, here's the deal. The guy closest to me was Murray, and he pitted. He was on newer tires, and so he was staying out. And I knew I couldn't pit before him because if a yellow came out, we'd be trapped a lap down, and he'd get by us and get the points over us. And so we just kind of watched what he did, and God, the tires were shot. I mean, I almost got ran over like 4 times, and I actually was probably 2 or 3 laps away from just saying no more and pitting. But we got the yellow we needed and just got the break we needed.
You come into Homestead sort of like what Kevin Harvick's coming into this year in this NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. You're coming as the defending champion. You're definitely one of the favorites. What's it going to take to get it done there?
Yeah, we're just gonna have to try and do what we did last year. We're gonna have to practice a lot, and we're gonna have to get the line down and do all kinds of things to get ourselves ready and take the extra step. Over a regular race to get ready, and it's tough because no matter how good you do in these first 9 races, you have 25% chance, and it doesn't sound very good, but you just do what you can and you try and just take it one lap at a time. You can't think too far ahead of time. So that's what we're gonna do.
You have any teammates there who might be helping you out there in that final race?
I don't know. My teammates for stroker races they all had issues this year. They had to drop out for various reasons. But I'm not sure what the Lions situation is going to be. But we'll just kind of see. I really think it's awesome that we don't have 2 guys from one team. We got 1 guy from 4 teams, so it's pretty equal there. And we're just hoping that experience will pay off for us. Since we were there last year, kind of remains to be seen. I'm racing 3 awesome drivers, and it's going to be really, really tough. I have my work cut out for me, but I'm gonna give it a shot.
Well, Eric, it's definitely a team sport. Who helps you get it done there in that 94 camp?
I want to thank John Abbott and Joey English, who's been there for me second half of the season. We've had some close calls in this chase, and we just, whenever we need a good run, we seem to get it, and that's the key to the chase. Is just when your back's up against the wall, just getting that good run, and we've been able to do that. So we'll see what happens. I'm really excited for it. I can't wait.
Well, that's Eric Brundys. He finishes P4 tonight, and he's locked into the championship round at Homestead. And I believe Jacob Seelman has caught up with our big winner tonight down at Victory Lane. His second win of this whole round right here.
2 wins in 3 races in the Eliminator 8 for Greg Evans. This one probably the most unorthodox of the both of them. And Gatorade Victory Lane's been fun. I know we made you wait a little while to get the TV time, Greg, but it gives you some time to process this one too. I know this wasn't necessarily how you want to win it. I know you'll take it. Take me through what was going through your mind there when you see Jose and Doug scrambling on that last restart, and all of a sudden they get together. And I don't know how you managed to get all the way down about 2 inches off the wall, avoid the both of them, and manage to come up with the lead.
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect that to happen. We were running third there, and we kept getting restart after restart after restart. And I knew I had a faster car than those guys because I had 4 tires. And Doug just got a good restart, and I had to let him in. And I was just thinking, maybe coming off 2, I could maybe get underneath him, or come off 1, I can get underneath him and make him move, and then work on Jose the next lap. And but with the cautions flying like there was, we didn't really know what was going to happen. And then I think Doug maybe thought I was going to drive it in harder than what he did, and maybe drove it in too deep and got into Jose, and it was like the seas parted. And like I said, you got to take what you can get, and we'll definitely take the win and keep going, and hopefully we got 1 more to go. So that's what the focus is on now, and we're ready to get to next week.
4th win of the season for you, 5th of your career in the Full Throttle Cup Series, but now probably the most important race of your Full Throttle Cup career in a week's time. How big are the next 6 days leading into Homestead, and what's it going to take from your driver's seat to be able to walk away with a championship next Monday night?
It's going to take some luck and driving the wheels off of it. I've never been in a situation like this where it's one racing for the championship. My teammates Murray and Cadell, they've been here last year, so hopefully I can kind of rely on them. Just kind of try to keep your mind clear all week. And then really start focusing on the race on Sunday or Saturday, and then it's going to be a heck of a battle. The 3 other guys that are in the show, I mean, I've been racing those guys all year long, and they'll finish ahead of me one week, and I'll finish ahead of them the next week. So it's going to be a battle. And like Brundy said, I mean, we got 4 different guys from 4 different teams. And it's just going to be a wild show.
I think we're all looking forward to it. You talk about teams, Greg. Another little nugget from tonight that you can take away. Your win tonight locks up the team's championship for Steel Horse Racing for the 2015 Full Throttle Cup Series. And you guys came in with high hopes for the year, 8 drivers, each with different agendas and very strong race cars. How sweet is that for you guys as really a first-year team in this series to be able to come in and slosh your way to a victory and a bunch of wins now along the way?
Well, it's definitely a big deal for the team, especially the owner, Jason Swanee. I mean, he has been there, had our backs all year long. No matter how down we are, up we are, he's always there giving us a encouraging word. And like I said, with eight drivers, sometimes it don't work out because everybody's got their own agenda, everybody wants to win. And I was a little nervous coming into the race in the season because I've never had no more than 1 or 2 teammates. And sometimes having teammates is a great thing, but other times on the track you've got to really give the other guy more room or try to help them out when sometimes you can't. But the 8 guys that we do have, I mean, we couldn't ask for a better group of guys. And this isn't just a me thing; it's the team. Jeff Ford, Thomas J. George, Cadell, Murray, Gottschalk, Cohan. I know it's somebody else, but I mean, dang, we got a great team, and we all get along great. And this is a huge deal for us.
I know it's big. 8 wins, 38 top 5s on the season combined between the 8 of you, and as it comes down to it, a grand total of 75 top 10s. I mean, you guys have been really the class of the field, I think, across the 8 drivers this season. I know they're a big part of it. I know you've got some sponsors on your car that you probably need to thank as well, Greg. Who makes it happen for you and the 23 team?
I definitely got to thank the Steel Horse Racing team. I forgot Rick McBride as well. PPG Industries, John Deere, Hicker Home and Garden, Duct Tape, Sure Tape, IamSecond.com. Got to thank God as well. And just a huge thanks to the team. They've stuck behind me all year. Last week at Texas, we didn't have a great race. And it's just, I can really say this year has been a team effort from everybody. Just congratulations to everybody who's on the team, and looking forward to next week, and hopefully we can get it.
And he goes into the championship round at Homestead as the number 1 seed in the chase. Greg Evans, a winner tonight in Phoenix, and we'll throw it upstairs. Evan Pasoko, let's take a look at the final Ford full field rundown tonight.
A late race melee and some more. Throw a late shuffle into this one, but Greg Evans, second win in just 3 races on the round, might just be the favorite going into Homestead. Picks up the checkered flag tonight from Phoenix International Raceway. Second, Jonathan Cadell, Dwayne Vincent in third. The 23-13, almost picture perfect in this most recent round of the chase. Eric Brundies comes home very strong in fourth to secure his seat through the number 1 of Thomas J. George in P5. not quite enough. Nelson Rivera in 6th spot tonight, 7th for Sean Casto, Rhett McBride 8th, 9th for David Comstock, and Christopher Hurlow P10, more than enough to get his way through the 4th of your 4 chase competitors.
11th place was Corbin Hemstreet. Sean Boundy comes home with a 12th place finish. Steve Gottschalk's going to finish 13th. EJ O'Rourke is going to finish 14th. Dan Murray is going to come up short tonight. He will not advance to the Final Four. He finishes 15th. Brian Harvey is going to finish 16th. After being one of the front runners for most of the race and getting caught up in a late race incident, Adam Benefield is going to finish 17th. Tom Drilling is going to finish 18th. Joseph LaPlaca is going to finish 19th. And rounding out the top 20, Rich Jett is going to finish 20th.
21st for the 29er, Brendan Mercer, Kyle Taraska in 22nd. Jose Gonzalez leading on the final restart in 23rd, and 24th to his teammate Doug Roth, who were running 1-2, coming to just 4 laps to go. Those are the drivers that finished on the lead lap. 1 lap down to the 42 of Scott Stenzel in 25th. 26th for Joe Dinsmore, Nick Silver 27th. Anthony DeBarro can't recover. 9 laps down, he's going home in P28. In 29th spot, Joey Jattina. Scott Simley will round out your top 30.
31st is going to be Matt Lacrosse. 32nd is going to go to Paul Fugate. Douglas Wyatt is going to finish 33rd. Mitch Rollo, another one of those front runners for most of the night. He was also involved in that accident with Adam Benefield. He's going to finish 34th. Jimmy North is going to finish 35th. 36th is going to go to Eric Arnold. And rounding out the field is going to be Jake Higgins in the 37th position. And that is your full field rundown for the finish. And Jacob, we're going to go back up to you.
Yes, sir. That final Ford full field rundown powered by Ford Go Further. It was not a Ford tonight that ended up in victory lane. It was a Chevrolet of Greg Evans. And Evan, we take a look at the chase grid now. Like we said, Greg Evans, the number 1 seed going into the finale at Homestead. Dwayne Vincent, Eric Brundys, Christopher Hurlow. 4 drivers, all even, no points. Whoever crosses the line first at Homestead wins the championship. These guys have come as far as they can come. It's all down to now just 125 laps.
And we say, we go into the Homestead of Miami Speedway race around 33 of 33 in 2015, and we say you're going to have to win. But you look at a race like tonight, this race was almost won by Jose Gonzalez. This race was almost won by Doug Roth. First off, it's crazy that we've gone from 16 to 4 drivers, because it's a long chase for these guys to get through all the rounds. So Vincent, Evans, Brundys, and Hurlow, the best of the best in the format. But, this race could have been won by drivers that started outside the top 20. This race could have been won by a Jonathan Cadell or a Thomas J. George, a Nelson Rivera, a Sean Casto, a Rhett McBride, a David Comstock, who are top 10 runners in this that don't end up making a Final Four. So Homestead, these are the best 4 drivers. I still go into that race saying you got to win it, but there was times tonight where those 4 drivers were running 3, 4, 5, and 6. That could be the case at Homestead. Homestead could be very different, though. Homestead, not a track that's known for a lot of caution flags. It could be a very strategy-based event. Looking forward to it, because now you have 12 chase caliber drivers on top of the rest of the field that can play spoiler to the 4 that remain. All we know is it's going to be absolute chaos. And by the way, you take the powerhouse teams, Jacob, that each had a lot of cars in this championship. Not really anymore. It's not infiltrated by 1 or 2 teams. It's pretty spread out for the most part as far as the drivers and who we've been talking about all season. Fun to see what these guys can do.
It is, and like Greg said in Victory Lane, the 4 spots held by 4 different drivers from 4 different teams. Radius Motorsports, RCO Boomtown Sim, Steel Horse Racing, among the teams represented, and then the Stroker Aces with Eric Brundys, the defending champ. So it's going to be fun to watch. We remind you, as far as a programming note, tomorrow night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, we go live with pre-race coverage for the NASCAR iRacing.com Pro Series, and the green flag drops at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. We hope you'll be there as we continue to watch 50 of the world's best sim racers try to make their shot into the NASCAR Peak Antifreeze Series 2016 pay off. This series will be back here on iRacing Live and LSRTV 1 week from tonight, 9:25 p.m. Eastern Time. We're set to go live as we bring you the finale, the Full Throttle Championship race from Homestead Miami Speedway. We'll be there to cover it all here on LSRTV. But right now, for Evan Pasoko, Brian Macklin, Cisco Scarmuza down on pit road, and our executive producer, Laura Lawson, I'm Jacob Seelman for iRacing Live and LSRTV, reminding you to keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we'll see you next time on the web and at the racetrack. Have a safe racing week. Good night.